Hey everybody, this is Tara Platt and I play Katarina on League of Legends, and you're listening to The Gaming Outsider.
Greetings, programs, and welcome to episode 271 of The Gaming Outsider, a video game podcast with a focus on our incredible community. It's Monday, November 18th. I'm your host, Scott Clark, and I'm joined, as always, by my fellow co-hosts. First off, a guy who wants you to know he has spoken. Zach Parkerson, what's up, man?
Yeah, The Mandalorian is so good.
Isn't it good?
God, I've waited my whole life for this show.
It's so
Not
good.
a lightsaber in sight, Scott.
I know. Who would have thought I would have liked the Star Wars television show that doesn't have any lightsabers in it? It's the first show in a long time where I actually want to go back and rewatch the first two episodes just because they were that good.
I watched the first two 3 times now.
Have you really?
It's so good.
It is really good.
I'm not exaggerating. Like, I've wanted this show is what I've wanted it for years.
Yeah.
Like, this idea of the show, the bounty hunter show, no lightsabers,
just blasters.
They even have the audacity to not take his helmet off.
So far, yeah. Do you think it's going to happen?
I hope not. I really hope not.
I kind of hope not, too, even though I really like the actor that plays him. But I just think he's got the perfect voice.
I hope they did a Master Chief thing where he just takes it off, but you don't see his face.
Man, I hope they don't even do that. I hope they just keep it on just for good.
Yeah, that would be great.
Because we all know what Pedro Pascal looks like. We don't need. It's not like
he's very handsome.
He is a very handsome fella. Anyway, before this turns into the Mandalorian podcast, which is not video game related. However, it is Star Wars related, and I have a sneaking suspicion we'll be talking about some Star Wars a little bit later on.
As we discussed, Scott, that show is a video game structure storyline.
It really is. It's funny you say that because, yeah, it totally feels like a video game. Gaining armor, fighting a boss battle, going on quests.
Getting in the MacGuffin egg.
Yeah. Which we don't want to go into too heavy a spoiler. There, it is brand new. It's no Final Fantasy VII, but we got to be a little careful there, right?
Yeah, you got to be way more cautious about FF7.
Anyway, Zach, thanks so much for being here. Also joining us, a guy who somehow managed to pull off a 48-hour weekend, Mr. Chris Behrensmeyer. How's it going, man?
Not too bad. Just don't be jealous of my superpowers.
How in the hell do you work 48 hours straight and still beat a 25-hour game all in one weekend? I just can't even understand.
First, let me correct you. I worked 48, had 24 off, and then worked another 24.
It just how do you keep going? It doesn't make any sense to me.
Caffeine and hate.
Summoning a little bit of Zach in there somehow.
Yeah, probably. But I hate coffee, so.
Well, CB, remember when you tell your own life story, do it with a smirk.
Oh,
plug.
This is just going to be plug-a-rama for you. Say it with a smirk. Man, I would never be able to get away with plugging my own stuff like that on my old podcast. Anyway, I got to give a shout-out to Aaron Hughes and Desiree, whom you met at R2V2. He and his, are they married?
Yes.
Okay. He and his wife Desiree were there. They helped out at the desk quite a bit. They called me up and said, hey, we got something we want to give you. And I was like, what could that possibly be? And they said, we're going to drop it off on Sunday. So they stopped by yesterday, and they made me, I don't even know what to call it. It's these little, like, flat, round beads that you make into, like, these pixelated designs, and then you iron them down so they all stick together. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
They're like the Pixel Pals.
Yeah, they're at conventions all the time.
Yeah, you see them at conventions. And they made, like, 4 pieces of these that are rather large. One of them is a giant ocarina, like this, which they use as a stand. And on top of that is a giant Link and a giant Princess Zelda standing on it, like hot glued to the top of it, so they're standing up. And then they made a smaller one that's like the Sheikah symbol from Breath of the Wild. And they are currently in my Zelda collection, and they look fantastic. It's
nice.
They look so good. I'm bummed I don't have a spot for them yet because they're that big. They're a good, I'm not going to say a full foot, but like a 9 or 10 inches tall. And maybe 6 inches wide each, or 5 or 6 inches wide each. They look really great. They're homemade. They made them themselves. They got the actual pixelated art, for the characters. And I just thought it was a super sweet thing they did. So shout out to Aaron and Desiree. It was awesome. And they may have some for some of you guys as well, too. So, CB, I know they have one for you. Nate, I know they have one for you as well, too. They said there's more coming, but and there's one for Chad, I believe. So, it's super sweet of them. They're moving out of town. They're heading to North Carolina. They're having a little going-away party next weekend, so I'm going to try to stop by and eat some of their food before they go, because, that's what you do, right? But
It's a wise move.
I just thought it was really nice, man. They just, on some random Sunday afternoon, they bring over this very cool piece of art that's definitely going in my Zelda collection. It was awesome.
It's one of a kind. How cool is that?
Yeah. We got awesome listeners, so thank you so much, guys. I really do appreciate it. How's your week been, guys? CB, I know what you've been up to, working Star Wars. Zach, what about you? Anything new and exciting happening this week?
No, hey, Star Wars.
Yeah.
I gave a shout out to Tori Melching. She has been growing my Spider-Man pop collection.
Oh yeah?
Yeah. Shout out to a listener of the show there as well.
And she has her she's a really great listener, awesome person. So we got some awesome listeners over here at the Gaming House that I love it. But let's go ahead and jump into the week's news. So first things first, we got a brand new trailer for Sonic the Hedgehog. And I don't know about you guys, but I think this movie looks like a ton of fun. I'm shocked at how much I want to see this movie now. The new character model looks much more close to the video game character than the last one did, which was borderline scary. And I don't know, the trailer overall looks like a lot of fun. Jim Carrey's back to classic form. How are you guys feeling about the film now?
Well, I mean, plain and simple, it just goes to show that if you complain long enough and hard enough and loud enough, people will change.
Yeah?
Well, businesses will make people change things for them.
Yeah. I'm actually kind of more excited to watch this now that it doesn't look like a atrocity anymore.
Yeah, like a meth head hedgehog.
Yeah, I could go with that with the very bizarre teeth.
Yeah, the teeth situation was odd.
Well, I will say the stills of the original trailer look a lot worse than the movie did in action.
I agree. I also think the first trailer looked like a lot of fun.
I did too. I still wanted to go see it, but now that they've actually made it look original, and that's coming from a guy that's not a massive Sonic fan like you, Zach. I think it looks like a blast. But
Sonic can do no wrong.
Yes, he can.
Hey, you know what?
He can.
It looks a lot more fun than Hobbs and Shaw.
Oh my God, we're coming back to this again.
People really didn't like that movie, huh?
Well, no, CB refuses to see the movie. It was I wanted to go see it in the theater, and no one would go with me. And I'm like, CB, come on, let's go see Hobbs and Shaw. And he was like, absolutely not. Hard pass. Refused to go.
I would have gone.
I even got a Voodoo credit to watch it for free, and I still passed.
I'm sorry. Okay, I know this has nothing to do with Sonic, but why? Why do you hate Hobbs and Shaw?
I just have no desire. After I think it was the second Fast and the Furious movie. Nah, man, I'm good.
You didn't you got to watch it past 3.
I've watched each one of them one time. Had no desire to ever watch it again.
You didn't cry at Furious 7?
Come on.
Nope, not at all.
Oh my God, this guy's a liar.
You are full of hate.
Toasty.
Well, anyway, the Sonic trailer looks amazing.
It does look good. And here's the thing.
Jim Carrey is very Jim Carrey, which I love.
Same here. He looks very, very Jim Carrey, and like old school Jim Carrey.
Right, and he's loving that Robotnik.
It feels almost like the Mask era Jim Carrey.
Yes. But how cool is it they call him Robotnik instead of Eggman, huh? Yeah.
Yeah. I have a feeling Eggman is going to get dropped in there somehow.
Yeah, Robotnik's just a cooler name, though.
Obviously.
Yeah.
I mean, Eggman I always thought that name was dumb.
Yeah. Well, except for the cool rap song in Sonic Adventure 2. I am the Eggman.
Okay.
One person out there is going to know.
No. Here's the thing, guys. We got this changed. Everybody raised enough hell to get this changed. Everybody needs to go see this and make this movie a success now.
Yeah,
seriously.
There should be a social media contract where if you complain about this, you are now obligated to purchase a ticket legally.
Like seriously, it's got to happen because if they go through all this, it costs them an extra $15 million to make that change. $15 million.
Okay. Yeah, that's not insubstantial.
And that puts it over the $100 million mark in terms of budget. So we need to go see this movie. Take your kids. Take them a couple times.
I'll go twice.
I might go twice as well, although I have a movie pass or A-list or whatever. So, but yeah, we need quality video game movies. And now that we finally, well, I can't say I haven't seen it, so I don't know if it's quality, but it looks quality. It looks like they're listening to fans of the original property. So we need to support that and go see this movie, please, everybody.
I will go on record saying I believe this movie will at least break even.
I think it'll be a hit. Kids and stuff. Kids love Sonic.
Surprisingly,
I'm
they
just
still
saying,
love Sonic.
Yes.
I'm just saying it's run in the theater. I know it will break even, unlike Charlie's Angels.
Oh man, would that make like $8 million its first weekend or something?
Yep.
That's brutal.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. So anyway,
it was weirdly marketed. So.
It's very weirdly marketed, and it's too bad. And I know we're not a movie podcast, but it's too bad because it looks like what's the actress's name? Kristen Stewart.
Yes.
It looks like she's finally having fun in a movie.
Yes. Yep.
Like
she finally looks happy to be on set.
Right? It looks like she wants to be there, and I don't think I've ever seen her want to be in a movie before, ever. And she is having a blast in the trailer, at least from what I've seen. So I may have to go.
Well, it doesn't have Marvel on the marquee, so who cares?
That too.
Is that how it works now? Marvel Sonic the Hedgehog would make $1 billion.
Incorporate Sonic into the MCU. Oh,
he doesn't even have to be in the MCU. You just have to put Marvel on it.
Oh, what are you talking about? They're setting up for the Smash Brothers universe. We've got Pikachu and Sonic now.
Cool. Oh man, I couldn't even contain myself with that excitement.
If there was a Smash Brothers,
they were building up to it. Phase 1 was Pikachu and Sonic and I don't know, Street Fighter or something.
Oh my god, I didn't even think about that because of Detective Pikachu.
Yeah.
Oh man,
and not to mention you have Charizard, Squirtle, and like all the rest of them in the same movie. So you've got like all the Pokemon already set up.
I was really worried CB was about to list the whole Pokédex.
Oh, that'll take a while.
That would take a little while, but there's no way that would happen. But I guess we could dream. We never thought that an Avengers thing would ever happen, and look where we are. So could you imagine the voice cast to fill up a Smash Brothers roster in a movie?
Well, you've already got Ryan Reynolds as Pikachu.
Yeah.
So
Ben Schwartz is Sonic. Even though Roger Craig Smith is a clear choice, but whatever.
Exactly, I agree. I was kind of miffed that he didn't get the role in the movie. I didn't understand that, but
just you can't put Roger Craig Smith above the title, I guess.
Apparently. Well, let's move on. We had another big event this past week, which was Microsoft's X019 event. It was several interesting announcements for the Xbox as well as some other services. This took place in London. First off, they came out the gate and said that Project Scarlet will not be out of position on power or price. Now, one could take that a couple different ways. I'm not sure what that means, out of position. Does that mean it's going to cost the exact same amount as the PS5? Is that what out of position means? Or does that mean they're going to be cheaper? Or what does that mean, Zach?
I mean, that sounds like it's going to be high to me.
Does it? Why would they come out on stage and be like, by the way, this is going to be super expensive?
I don't know. Like, the not out of position is such strange wording.
Yeah.
I actually took that a different way.
Okay.
For me, it won't be out of position on power, which means it will be just as, or if not more powerful than the PS5.
Sure.
And it's not going to be out of position on price. In other words, competitive priced.
You just say maybe maybe you're right. Maybe it is a they're prefacing that hey, it's going to be cheaper than you think, but that does not mean that we're skimming on the power.
Okay, that makes sense.
That could be it. Yeah.
It will not be out of position, so you're going to get what you paid for. You're going to get more than what you paid for.
That's how I read it.
Okay.
Look at this guy, the optimist over here.
I try.
Well, he is a big Microsoft fan, so
yeah, that helps.
Hey, I have a PS4. It gladly holds up the dust on my shelf.
It holds your copy of God of War that you've played about 2 hours of.
Yep.
Hey, that was a pretty good game.
Yeah.
Boy.
That was this year, wasn't it?
That was last year.
Last year,
yeah.
Okay. My mind is already spinning towards Game of the Year, and I'm trying to.
Zach Parkinson's number 4 game of 2018.
Oh, that's right. The years are jumbling together a little bit. So, Anyway, also coming from this, I thought this was really cool. Every Final Fantasy game since Final Fantasy VII will be available on the Xbox Game Pass, except for 11 and 14, although I think they said that 14 will be coming at a later time, and those are the MMOs. But man, 7, 8, 9, 10, 10-2, 12, 13, 13-2, Lightning
13,
Returns.
I was going to say 13-3.
And 15. All are going to be on Xbox Game Pass. That's got to be about 6 months of content, of gameplay content right there. Like, it's just insane. So that was cool.
My biggest takeaway from that is, where's Tactics? Where's 5? Where's 6?
I like how they're here. We're going to shower you in RPG greatness, and CB's just like, well, where's the rest?
Yeah. Why not round it all out, guys? Come on.
Well, you're only giving me half.
They're giving you all that they've ported to modern consoles.
Yeah, plus I don't know where the rights are with like 6. Is that because that was Squaresoft originally? Does Square Enix own that? They're all Square Enix?
Yeah, you will eventually get those old games on modern systems, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to mine their whole catalog before they're done.
I mean, why wouldn't they? They would make money,
yeah.
Right?
I feel like Tactics would be a moneymaker, but I think this is awesome with Game Pass.
It's insane how much game you get for $9 a month.
The value on Game Pass is unbeatable.
Staggering.
Well, and there's even more. They're also coming or available now, Darksiders 3, multiple Yakuza titles, which is a series I've never dipped my toe into.
Those have never been on Xbox before.
Yeah,
that's cool.
It's always been a Sony property. So Tekken 7, though, thank goodness, because Roy from our community has been challenging me on Tekken 7 in quite a while, and I have not had a chance to brush up, so now I can do so. Witcher 3 Wild Hunt, another 200 hours. Rage 2, The Talos Principle, which is a game I've always wanted to play, but just didn't get around to it. Now I can. My Friend Pedro, another one that it's a little more recent, but didn't try it. Now I'm going to, for certain. And just a ton more. There's so many on this list. There was too many to say here. But that Game Pass is looking sweeter and sweeter every day. Would you guys agree?
Yeah.
Yeah. PS Now is going to step up.
Yeah, because PS Now, some quality titles, for sure. But they're not getting as many, and they're not also getting the first-party stuff included in it, which is a bummer.
Yeah, I don't see Sony doing the day and date anytime soon.
No.
With how well there's no financial reason for them to like put Spider-Man 2 up there right away.
Probably not, but that would be huge.
Of course, yeah.
I mean that would be all it would take to get people.
Spider-Man 2 exclusive to PS Now, everyone will sign up.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
They also talked about xCloud. They said it is going to officially launch in 2020, and it now has 50 games on its roster. Now again, this is not nothing brand new. You're going to have existing titles. At least I didn't see any original games. Did you guys see anything original on there?
No,
I don't. Yeah, I don't think that's what they're shooting for.
Yeah, I didn't think so either. But you know what? I am okay with that. If stuff is going to be eventually coming to xCloud, sign me up. In fact, Chris, aren't you signed up?
As of today.
Yeah, he got into the beta.
I just got my email notification less than 48 hours after buying a new phone.
Funny how that works. Because you applied, you tried it before, didn't you?
Yeah, I tried it before and didn't get in. Bought a new phone, resubmitted, and immediately got an email. So
that's probably why.
I haven't loaded it yet because the new phone comes in the mail tomorrow. So I will let you know.
So, yeah, I'm really excited to try. Are you gonna get one of those like brackety things that you connect to your controller and then put your phone on it?
I already ordered one.
Did you? Of course you did.
Man, this guy does not hesitate.
He really doesn't. I seriously cannot wait. I know we're all like, oh, I got the 60-inch screen in my basement and stuff, but the idea of being able to go anywhere in the house, sit in my bedroom or sit on the couch and be able to continue to play my games, that's beautiful. Sit on my deck in the summer. I just seriously can't wait to be able to do that. Well, I can sit by the fire and play Xbox.
The timing is perfect for me because I leave for Florida for vacation. in like a week.
Gonna go on vacation with your family and ignore them.
So I'll sit at Disney World and be like, I'm gonna play Xbox.
Bring it with you, like while you're standing in all the lines.
Hey, perfect time, man.
Yeah, that's kind of true. Depending on how good the connection is there. That's what I'm really curious about: is how far away do you have to be? How good does the Wi-Fi have to be for that to work?
Yeah, we'll have to see. So
yeah. We also got some announcements for some new games. The first one is a game called Tell Me Why. It comes from Don't Nod. You guys know them for Life is Strange and Life is Strange 2. Before that, Remember Me. And this one has a focus on two twins, and I believe one of them is a trans character, and that's a big mark for the trans community. That's what everybody's been talking about. And apparently...
They're working with GLAAD.
Yes, they are.
Yeah.
And I think from what I've been hearing... It's not like the prominent part of the story. It's just a character that just happens to be trans. So it's not, it's not the focal point, which from what I'm hearing the community saying is that they actually appreciate that. It's not like, hey, we're having a story about a trans character. There's a story about a character that happens to be trans.
Yeah, it still looks pretty supernatural and stuff from the trailer.
Yep, which is par for the course for Don't Nod. So.
Exactly. Remember you later, Don't Nod.
Wow.
Remember that? Remember that from Remember Me?
I didn't play Remember Me.
Oh, whenever characters in a radio call, they'd always be like, "Remember you later."
Oh.
It's pretty corny.
I heard that game was actually pretty decent though.
It's pretty, I liked it a lot.
Okay. Also,
the combat was weak, but otherwise, continue. I'm sorry.
It's okay. We got Everwild from Rare, which we didn't see a whole lot of. It just looks like an action adventure game, some animals. And it was more of a glorified teaser than anything else. But hey, love seeing Rare doing something else that's besides Sea of Thieves.
Yeah, it's nice to see them doing games again.
Yeah.
I have no idea how Everwild plays after seeing that trailer.
Right.
But it's cool to see Rare's art shop still are prime.
That's true. That's true. And how about Grounded? I think this is a really cool one. It looks like Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, the video game. It comes from Obsidian, but it's supposed to be a survival game mixed with, like you're out in a backyard and you're shrunk down and everything is giant to you. I don't know. Why have we never played that in a game before? I feel like maybe a level here or there in some games have done that, but...
Well, we did. It was called The Bug's Life.
Yeah, but that's Bug's Life.
But you're not...
And
you're
Toy Story.
But you're not a shrunk kid in those,
Yeah, you're an
sure,
ant or a toy.
Who could forget Buck Bumble?
Oh, wow.
Not exactly the same.
I don't even know what Buck Bumble is.
Man, if you're going there, that's like saying Mr. Mosquito on PS1.
Also great. Mr. Mosquito is PS2.
Are you sure?
Man, no,
Yes.
it's PS1, sir.
Man, I just heard this debate on another podcast, actually.
I could have swore there's a Mr. Mosquito game on PS1.
I'm pretty sure there's a PS1 one.
I'll put you some money. Okay, what? Why do you think that?
Our producer is confirming that it is PS2. So CB, you and I are wrong.
What's up?
Oh wait, I'm okay. I'm getting my Misters crossed. There's a Mr. Domino on PS1.
Oh,
no one can stop Mr. Domino.
I think the reason that you're thinking it was PS1 is because if I remember correctly, the graphics on it looked like PS1 graphics. So maybe that
was fine.
No,
I remember that Japanese girl in the bathtub in that game. She was well rendered.
biting thighs.
Well, you did have to bite her bosom. What a game that was.
No. In the first level, you had to bite the thigh.
Yeah, no, I know.
You know, Zach, we've been podcasting together for a little over a year and a half now, and it took that long for the words "bite your bosom" to come out of your mouth.
I'm a little disappointed in myself. It took that long.
Me too.
Oh my goodness. We used to be. Remember when we were a kid-friendly podcast? That was awesome.
Yeah, it was about 20 minutes ago, right?
Hey, we use no language in here that would offend a child.
Yeah, no.
It would offend their parents, but
they kids don't know what bosom is. You could say bosom in Zootopia.
Yes, you could.
It's true. All right, Zach, I think you got another story that just dropped for us regarding Amy Hennig, yes?
Oh, yeah, she's got a job. She's working at Skydance Media. She will be making interactive experiences for emerging streaming platforms.
Skydance Media.
It sounds familiar. I have no idea, though.
I thought Skydance was film.
Skydance is film. God, didn't they do Star Trek? No, wait, that was Bad Robot.
Bad Robot.
Bad Robot.
I think the wording of interactive media makes me think like Bandersnatch kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Makes me think of Night Trap.
There you go. Amy Hennig is going to reboot Night Trap.
I don't know, man. If she's going to film, that's awesome that she's got work, obviously, but I want her back in the video games industry.
Yeah, I wonder exactly what this will be. Because Uncharted was basically an interactive movie.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's not like Choose Your Own Adventure, like you're talking about Bandersnatch.
We don't really know what it is. It could just be like Netflix is like, hey, if you have a DualShock, Andy, here's this interactive thing.
Well, I mean, that's true. That'd be pretty cool, but I don't see that happening. Let's be honest.
Life is Strange, the movie.
With the bring the Kinect back, you actually like hold your arm out like she did in the show.
Yeah.
Hopefully the episodes come out a little faster than Life is Strange.
I like the first Life is Strange. I did not like the second one. Although I only played one episode, so I can't complain too much.
Well, it's okay. They take about 4 months in between episodes for some reason.
I know. It's kind of ridiculous. And
I think that's why their new game, they're like, all episodes coming summer 2020.
Yeah, tell me why. It's only 3 episodes, but they're all being released at the same time, which is, I think, smart. I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
4 months is a little ridiculous. All right, well, that's going to do it for news. Let's talk about Patreon very quickly. CB, tell everybody what they can listen to right now and what's coming up in the future.
So most recently, we have our Final Fantasy episode with Brandon Smith. We also did our Halloween episode, though it came out in November. Sorry about that. We just finished watching the Tron movies, Nate, Scott, and myself. So
well, I watched 1.5.
Yeah.
Did you fall asleep?
I did.
Captain Sleepy over here.
Hey, now that you have Disney Plus, you could watch the animated series and include it on the next one.
I didn't know there was an animated series.
Tron Uprising.
Yeah, it's on my Disney Plus watch list.
There's a watch list? I could not find a watch list on Disney Plus.
Yeah, there's no resume watching for some bizarre reason.
That does not make any sense to me whatsoever.
No,
it also doesn't auto skip to the next episode, which kind of makes me upset.
Oh, it did for Spider-Man when I was watching that.
Well, it doesn't for Mickey Mouse Clubhouse. So my son watched the same episode like 6 times for it.
The Spider-Man episodes are in a wild and random order right now. So
yes,
it's a little touch and go there at Disney Plus.
So we're also still working towards the Glee episode.
Yeah, man, that's just,
which may or may not include me due to time constraints. But
I just think you don't want to talk about it.
No, dude, I love Glee. I think it's great.
Those first 15 episodes are insanely good.
And then we're also currently working on a spoiler cast for the most confusing game Scott's ever played.
It's not that confusing.
No, it's
Control.
It's not.
Apparently it is for him. So
I thought it was going in one way and it didn't, but we'll get there. So
it's a shame. It's a shame you guys don't like Death Stranding because that would be a fun game to try to figure out what's happening.
Well, I got some time on my hands now, so.
Yeah, I guess you do.
Well, anyway, if any of those episodes sound intriguing to you or you'd like to help out the cause here with the Gaming Outsider, head over to patreon.com/thegocast. $3 a month will give you access to all of our bonus content, current as well as all the way back to the beginning. So tons of content for you there for $3 a month. And we really do appreciate it if you help us out. With that, let's go ahead and jump into our From the Outside In topic. So this week, our community started conversing about review scores, and the conversation was so interesting, we decided to incorporate it into this week's From the Outside In topic. Now, this isn't the first time we've covered this topic, but it's been like 3 years, so I thought it was a good time to go ahead and revisit it. The debate started when we were discussing the Metacritic score for Death Stranding, which currently has an 83 from critics and a 6.1 user score on Metacritic. Although the game, has been very divisive in terms of how people feel about it, there has been some debate about whether or not those numbers make the game a good game or a bad game. And if review scores were based on a 10-scale rating, for you guys, I want to know what is the cutoff for a game to be considered a good game in your eyes, if we're looking at a 10 scale?
Well, first of all, Scott, there's no such thing as a bad game, just games that aren't for you.
Sure, yes. I've heard that.
That's a Woody catchphrase. You should incorporate that on something.
We should.
For me, I guess 6 is kind of where the okay begins. Which is, when you look at it academically, is frustrating because 5 should be the average.
Well, I mean, academically,
sure, but yeah,
under 70 was a failure when I was a kid.
Oh, really? It was under 60 for us.
I went to private school.
We went to dumb school.
It's under 78 for me.
Yeah,
that's a high standard. Well, okay, yeah, 7. I mean, 7 is the average, right? I feel like that's the okay game.
70 would be 7 would be passing.
Yeah, be a C. Like pretty good. Yeah, solid effort.
Right.
A 6 is like good. Obviously, 10 should be rare.
Right.
But I don't think that some people feel like no game should get a 10. I don't agree with that. I think it is if it's a 10 out of 10, it's the best game it could possibly be at that moment. Super Mario 64 at that time, that was a 10 out of 10.
That brings up an interesting point. Is that, do we consider a game if it got a 10 out of 10 at its release and we go back and play it now and it doesn't hold up, is it still a 10 out of 10?
Yeah, I think you have to look through a historical lens. I really don't prescribe the idea that 10 has to be perfect. I would say, I mean, it's probably perfect in the reviewer's eye, but the score is reflective of the critic, not of,
Well, I think there's something to be said too about a game being specifically that just clicks with the reviewer. You know what I mean? Right. If you play a game that just feels like it's made for you, there's something that helps.
I've recently had this feeling. I understand.
Have you? We're gonna have another one of those this year, huh?
Yeah. Who knows? Who knew?
Okay. What about you, CB?
For me, like, I don't really take into the score as much because you know me, like I'll play bad games. I enjoy playing bad games.
You forced me to play bad games.
There's a lot to be said for B games.
There are, because there's some that somehow manage to find a way to bring something to the forefront. Mm-hmm. Whereas, like, nobody's ever done this before. But for me,
nobody's
like,
ever made me carry stuff across the land and balance it on the way over there.
Yeah.
That's the new Strands genre. Haven't you guys been keeping up?
Oh, God. For me, like, if it's below, like, a 4, like, when I see somebody give something a 4 and I play it, the game better be pretty much unplayable. Like, there better be something physically broken or wrong with it. Because...
What about a 5.5?
5.5, to me, that's a playable game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I would have no reservations playing a 5.0 game.
For me, like the 1 to 10 scale, I feel that we need to start looking for a new way to rate or review games, because like I said, for me, like 5 is still playable. When you get under 3, like there better be something like, oh, I pressed left, but it goes up. Like there better be something severely wrong with the game to give it a score that low, because you have to remember, like people put time and effort into making these games.
Right. So nobody sets out to make a bad game.
Yeah. Nobody sets out to make a bad game. So if a game receives like a 2, like a 1, 2, or 3, there better be something horrifically wrong with the game to make it so it is actually not playable. So,
I'm glad you brought up this whole idea of a different way to review games, because I actually brought this up the last time we talked about this before you guys joined, and I have a solution, but it will never catch on. But if I were in charge of the Gaming Outsider, this is how I would do review scores. Are you ready?
Okay, yeah. Let's imagine this hypothetical and fanciful world where you're in charge of the Gaming Outsider.
Here's how we would do it. The reviews would be more binary. It either gets a 1 or a 2. 1 is not recommend, 2 is recommend. That's the first part of it.
So wasn't it a thumbs up, thumbs down?
Well, there's more to it than just a thumbs up, thumbs down. There's a number that comes after it. So it's a 1 point something or a 2 point something. And then the point scale after that goes up to goes to 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, and so on. So you can give it a thumbs up or a thumbs down, but you also give a rating on it at the end of it. So if I give it a thumbs up and give it a 3, to me this is a game that's worth playing, but it has a lot of glaring issues that it only deserves a 3. If I give it a thumbs down, but I give it a 9, I don't recommend it, but there's a lot of good things going on with this game.
So you said binary? This is far from binary.
Well, the first half of it is binary.
Well, no, because binary is 0 or 1.
Okay, then 0 or a 1. So a 0.
I think using the number at all is, I think, going to confuse people.
Right.
Yes. Like you're almost speaking hexadecimal.
Right. So instead of it being, okay, then forget it being binary 0s and 1s or 1s and 2s. We give it a thumbs up or a thumbs down.
He's picking apart.
I know. He's still mad I made him adjust his microphone earlier.
Yes. No, I like the outside the box thinking. Like I remember reading, God, I can't remember what magazine it was, but they always gave it like basically 1 to 4, but it was always like Grandpa Munster, like he used to rate movies. It was like out of like how many bats does this get? Like something that was a little comical, but you still have a grading scale.
4 stars out of 5.
But the typical 1 to 10 to me just does not work anymore. Because there's too many I know Scott's going to give a roguelite a higher score than I'm going to give it.
Right.
Sure.
So it's more or less like Kyle Boggs was talking on our thing. I usually watch a few reviews on YouTube, IGN specifically, as I find it more relatable when I'm on the fence. So it's more or less finding like a reviewer that has like-minded views that you do and kind of trusting their opinion more.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I don't use the 1 to 10 as much. Whereas if Metal Jesus on YouTube recommends a retro game, I'm going to be more interested in that retro game because we have similar tastes in games.
Right, and that's a key to it, is finding somebody that aligns to your interests and following them. But there's always going to be disparate opinions. Even then, there's always going to be, no matter how closely aligned you are with somebody, it's never going to be perfect. And that's where coming up with, you never rely on one person. You never rely on one outlet, search around. And that's where I think Metacritic came in and it was trying to solve that. Oh, let's just, come up with an aggregate score. And I can't decide if that's hurt or hindered the way that we look at games media. What do you guys think?
I think Metacritic has hurt it big time.
Can you expand on that?
Well, sure. Well, for one thing, there's too many stories about people's bonuses and livelihoods being tied to that Metacritic score.
That's true.
And that puts an unfair pressure on games media. Because, if I'm being honest about this review, I'm about to take some food out of some kids' mouths.
Yeah, I don't like critics having that kind of power either.
Yeah, that's messed up. And that's on the publisher, not on anybody else, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
But I just think Metacritic in general has been, because review scores are one thing, and I like review scores. I think they serve a purpose of, you're just trying to get a quick hit of information, Yeah,
you're the one that convinced me to put review scores back in our reviews here at the Gaming Outsider, if you remember.
Yeah, and I'm a big supporter of review scores. I think people that don't want them often can come across as a little pretentious, especially when it's the game's critic themselves saying it, because it really feels like you as a critic are like, well, my words are more important than you getting information, is what it feels like.
Yeah, I get that. I really do. And I don't want to come across that way.
But Metacritic painted a broad number. Like, it gave every game one number. Mm-hmm. So now people can look at Breath of the Wild and be like, well, it got 98, and Not Great Time got a 97, so clearly Breath of the Wild's better. And it's just nothing but troll fodder.
Yeah, and they do have the critics versus the populace, or whatever, what do they call it? I don't remember. I just read it.
User score?
User score, yeah.
I think we can all admit let's just abolish the user score. Come on.
It seems worthless at this point when people are going and review bombing games.
Yeah, it's become weaponized.
Like, and this is a total side tangent, but can we talk about what the hell is going on with Pokemon and why people are hating that company right now? Did I miss something? Because I could not understand why everyone is so upset with this company. I'm purely ignorant. I don't know.
You go ahead, CB.
Isn't I know some people are mad because they don't have the full Pokédex like they have in previous games.
That's what it is, and you can't. So because of that, you can't move all of your Pokemon forward. Because you could have the same roster of Pokemon since Pokemon Red in 1996 and have traded them through every single game up until now. So you could have had the same Pokemon now for 20 years?
Yeah.
And they're not continuing it. Did they promise it before?
It's in every single one, so it's kind of a serious tradition, but because the resources it would take to HDify 1,000 Pokemon is just insurmountable. You can only trade forward the Pokemon that exists in Sword and Shield. So if they have Haunter, you can bring your Haunter forward, but if they don't have Gengar, you couldn't do that kind of thing. You can't catch them all in Pokemon Sword and Shield.
As long as they didn't promise that, I'm okay with that.
They didn't.
Okay.
At no point in time did they say that they were going to bring the full Pokédex forward. And
no, it is. Oh, is that? I'm sorry. Continue.
Oh no, I was going to say, here's the thing: if you're playing with the same 6 Pokemon that you've had since Red or Blue,
well, it'll be the same 151.
Well, I understand that, but it's a new game. Enjoy new content sometimes. There's a reason it's a new game. They're trying to move forward. They're trying to bring new things to light. And everybody's like, I can't have my Butterfree.
Well, okay, first of all, Butterfree is the best Pokemon. Don't be a jerk. But people, I feel like it was an inherent promise built into the franchise at this point. But it's just unrealistic. Pokemon Sword and Shield would take, 15 years to make if they brought forth every single Pokemon in HD.
Yeah.
But they even put together a petition to the president saying, please don't allow this game to be released.
I feel like the smartest play would have been Game Freak putting some kind of PC, because you can store Pokemon in the PC or whatever. Just let people store the data there and not actually let them play with them, so that way they can bring it forward to the next game too. That might have been the right, smart way to do it. But it's just, I don't know. It just feels, feels a little bit of, what's the word? Entitled. That's the word.
Yeah. Well, sorry for the tangent there, but I just thought of it while we were talking about it because they're review bombing that game because.
User review you should not be able to user review until a week after the game comes out.
That's a no-brainer. How can you review a game if you haven't played it?
And yet, you can.
Which, I don't know. I feel like there has to be a account system set up, and you have to have certain number of hours. I don't know. Now it's just too complicated, and it's not worth it. But
plain and simple, if you want to do user reviewed scores, have 3 reviews submitted that don't count towards a score, and then going forward, you can count towards a score.
Well,
that way,
you could I could throw together 3 garbage reviews if I really wanted to put a 4th one that was.
I feel like you put a week limit on it, people's ire would go down. Maybe 2 weeks, right? That's the gamer memory.
There you go. Do it. User reviews are not allowed until 2 weeks after the game. Otherwise, start your own website.
There you go. Start your own blog.
Well, I had a comment from Lalamer Waffle over on Discord. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that right. I feel like I get it wrong every week. I look at review scores 50% of the time for games I'm interested in but not necessarily excited for. They factor in for games I'm not sure about, either get me hyped or turn me off. My threshold is probably 6 or 7 at lowest, but I care more about what's written than the number at the end. So basically what he's saying is if he's looking at the score, he'll stop at 6 and won't play anything lower than that. Mine's a little bit lower. I'll still play a 5 without hesitation if it's something I'm interested in. And that's a key, right? If a game I'm super interested in before any reviews come out, release, and then it gets a 5, I'm still probably going to play that game, right?
Right. I think GameSpot gave the game Advent Rising a 5 or a 4.5 or something like that back in the day. I remember I had such a grudge against Alex Navarro for years because how dare he score that game that low when it's so clearly a 9.
Well, and I guess that brings up the question too. When we're reviewing games, what are we reviewing? Are we reviewing the quality of the game in terms of the enjoyment I had with it, or are we reviewing the competency of its functionality?
I think reviews started that way that you're talking about, the competency of its functionality, but I think video games have if you're releasing a game now, it's competent.
Well, after a patch.
Sure. But it's not about that anymore.
Right.
It's more about subjectivity. It's more like it has become less of a product review and more of an entertainment review, like movies or TV.
Well, I mean, can you think of a game where a game released and it just straight up didn't work at launch? I mean, they have to be there. You say it doesn't happen anymore, but I feel like that's not impossible. What was the WWE game that they released recently?
Sure. But then you could, when you review it, you could just say, "Well, I couldn't play it." 1 out of 10.
So, all right, let me pose this one to you. I actually just looked up 2 scores right now.
Mm-hmm.
Resident Evil 6, which I know Zach loves so much,
It's great.
and Fallout 76.
All right.
Okay. Same Metacritic.
No, there's a severe difference.
Well,
which
probably
one do you think?
Fallout 76 rated much
lower?
lower because people just started dogging on it, especially after the
I don't know.
Fallout first.
I would have guessed Death Stranding's Metacritic was much lower than 83 based on the way I've heard people talk about it.
Yeah.
So Resident Evil 6 got a 63. Fallout 76, 49.
Sounds right.
Fallout 76 is a functional game. Like, you can play it. It has bugs, but it is a functional game.
Well, 6 was functional. It just, you had to slide down a mountain quite a bit.
Yeah, you did.
So I'm just saying that, like, I hate the fact that a game, like, I enjoy that game. I like playing that game. It scored a 49 on Metacritic, but I'm still going to play it.
Now that's a critic score, not the user score.
So I just Googled it, like Fallout 76 Metacritic. PC got 52, PlayStation 4 53, Xbox One 49. I played on Xbox. It got a 49. So that's why I say, like, the 1 through 10 or 1 through 100 rating system to me doesn't really apply.
Interesting. Henley Merrill also had a comment and said, any game below a 7 I will look at other reviewers to determine if and when I will purchase the game. So basically, I read Henley's comment here, and anything a 7 or higher, he's just going to blindly buy, or blindly play, rather. But if it's below a 7, then he's going to read more into it. I understand that correctly?
I think it's just if it's below a 7, he needs to be convinced.
Okay.
Basically.
Fair.
So that's how I read it. But what's nice about video games these days, as we learned from reviewing, is most games that are released now, because of just how expensive they seem to be to make, they usually are at least good.
Right, but that's where I struggle with the concept of good, because we had this discussion on one of the social media platforms where someone said a 6.9 was not a good score. I struggled wrapping my head around that, because a 6.9 is basically a 7. Saying a 7 out of 10 is not a decent experience. Do I want every game to be a 10 out of 10 perfect for me game? Yes, but that's not a feasible thing. I can't. Every game can't be a 10.
Well, see, the 6.9 thing just bothers me. Like, at that point in time, just give it a 6 or give it a 7.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of the 100-point scale.
Well, it's a 10th point scale. Oh, you're calling it 100
options.
Okay.
Essentially, there are 100 options there. Like, give it a 6, give it a 6.5, or give it a 7.
I couldn't agree more. That's why the Gaming Outsider uses a 20-point scale. And we don't even review. We don't put the score on there ourselves. We hand it off to somebody else to read it. They read the text, and then they assign a number afterwards.
Yeah, I don't know if we've ever actually disclosed that to everybody, but the reviewer does not actually score the review. So,
it is the editor.
Right.
Reads the text, actually thinks about it, and says, "Okay, hey, the words here sound like a 6."
Right.
And then the reviewer gets to be like, "Well, I was thinking more of a 5.5," and you can be like, "Okay, yeah, that's close enough." But like, we do that way it doesn't read like a 4 and then come out at an 8.
Exactly.
Which is great.
Some accountability.
Whoever came up with that idea was a real smart guy, I tell you.
Yeah, so, he's a pretty smart dude.
So, I mean, and the reason I hate, like, just looking at review scores. So Scott, I mean, I'm assuming, like, if somebody came out with like a like a 93 out of 100, you would play that game.
Without, I mean, you're just telling me straight up, if it's a score is a 93, I don't know what the game is. I don't know if it's anything I'm interested in. If I see the 93 out of 100, I'm going to play it for sure. Is that what you're asking?
Would you dabble?
Well, I mean, there's very little I don't dabble in anymore. That's you know what I mean. It's if it's a game that's popular, I'm more than likely going to play it. I'm at least going to rent it.
Okay, cool. Because now you're going to play World of Warcraft.
No, not going to rent World of Warcraft.
Yeah, you can't. I think you're free until level 20, right?
Yeah, but see, that's the thing is people that just base everything on blind user, like blind score.
Mm-hmm.
I feel that way is in today's day and age. It's not as usable to me, especially with like Twitch, Mixer, YouTube. I feel that just plain simple numbers aren't enough anymore.
No, I agree with you, but I guarantee you that a shockingly large number of people, when they read a review, just scroll down to see what that number is. And the reason I admit that, or I say that, is because I will admit that I do that myself. Like if I'm reading a movie review from fellow podcasters over at the Hollywood Outsider, as soon as I click on the review, I scroll down to the bottom to see what the score is and then go back to the top and read the review, just because I want to know where they land before I go into it. I don't know why that is.
I like to be surprised at the end.
You like a little plot twist?
Yeah, be like, ooh, the way I think they like this, like I think they gave this like 4 out of 5, and at the end they're like 2 out of 5, and I'm like, ooh.
See, I actually do what Scott does. I scroll down, look at the score, and then I read the text.
Yeah, that's
because it's helpful if let's say I'm on the fence about the new Men in Black movie,
mm-hmm.
and I'm like, yeah, let's see what the Hollywood Outsider has to say, and I scroll down and I was like, oh my god, a 2. You know what? I was kind of on the fence anyway. I don't even know if I need to read this review.
Well, sometimes reading a 2 out of 10 review is fun to read just to see what.
Sure, just a rag on something.
Well, either rag on it, or if they delicately do it, or if they actually just kind of had some fun with it and just went all out. Those are fun reviews to read sometimes.
Yeah, I almost feel like we could have turned this into a game and be like, I'm going to give you like 3 titles, and you have to guess the review score of this game.
The Metacritic.
Yeah.
You got one handy?
Well, I've already dropped 3 on you. Resident Evil 6, Fallout 76, and World of Warcraft.
Yeah. This would have been a fun game if we'd have prepared for it.
I guess Death Stranding's an 83.
I put in the notes it was 83.
Yeah, I know. That was the joke. I believe Breath of the Wild, I would guess, is 98.
Yeah.
That would be my guess.
Well,
97.
While we're talking about that, I'm pulling that up right now. Breath of the Wild's Metacritic score is...
Scott, you got a guess?
I would say 97.
96.
Yeah.
Ooh.
I was closer.
Is Ocarina 98? It's got to be.
Probably. I mean, I'm not 100% sure, but
luckily,
there's this thing called Metacritic, and Ocarina of Time is a 94.
What? No, man. You see, this is a terrible website.
Look. I like Breath of the Wild, but it's no Ocarina.
That's what see?
I mean,
see what Metacritic does to us?
Well, that's the thing is, like, Breath of the Wild is a technically superior game. Like, what it's able to accomplish is outstanding. But I would much rather go back to Ocarina, like, on the 3DS, because that one looks a little bit prettier than it does in the 64.
Sure.
And just
but that's the thing. When Ocarina came out in 98, it was more important than Breath of the Wild in 2017.
Well, I mean, there's that rose-colored glasses sometimes that you have to view a game through.
Definitely. But Ocarina, that game holds up.
So, well, I looked up one more before we kind of move on a little bit, but Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order.
Oh, man. Boy, that's actually tough because...
Yeah, because of the technical issues.
There are some technical issues, and I was listening to some podcasts today that were not speaking as highly on the game as I was expecting them to be. So,
I mean, obviously, it should be 100.
Well, you're wrong.
78.
Wow, I don't think it's going to be that low. I'll say higher than 78. I was going to say 86.
81.
I was closer.
Were you? Yeah, you were.
Yeah.
81.
It feels like even the people that like that game in the reviews, they're like, well, I can't ignore these technical issues.
I've only had one technical issue, but we'll get there.
Yeah, we will, because, see, I can ignore technical issues, personally.
Right.
And that's why...
Control.
See, that's what
Control, plain and simple.
Technical issues.
It had technical issues, but...
Well, that's a really interesting point, Stevie, now that you say that, because people do not seem to be forgiving of Jedi Fallen Order's technical issues, but they were forgiving of Control's, and I had way more issues in Control.
So did I.
Control actually is currently receiving a better Metacritic score than Fallen Order.
I would guess Control's an 88 at least.
84, 85.
Wow. Man, that map in Control would not pop up for me.
No, it's wretched. It's a really badly drawn map.
No, I'm not even talking about how it was drawn. I'm talking it wouldn't pop up. I would have to sit there and wait for the map to catch up in my pause screen.
Yes.
Drove me crazy.
So,
well, back
anyway,
on
Control.
topic here a little bit.
Let's talk about Control.
Do you guys put any merit into review scores, or do you? I mean, we've kind of touched on this already. CB, you pretty much already said that you would rather read the words than look at the score, right?
Yes. And surprisingly, there's a lot of our listeners that follow Garen Turner. I used to go by scores, but now I'll watch gameplay on Twitch if I'm on the fence about a game. I'm the same way.
That's actually a really interesting point. Could you imagine if we had Twitch when we were kids?
Oh my God.
And we could watch these games before playing them or buying them?
I feel like I was an old man already, because I would, even when I was younger, GameSpot would do video reviews, and I would still rather read the text than watch the review.
Wow, you are old.
Yeah,
Oh.
that's true to this day. I would rather find a review that I can read than a review I can watch.
Now, mean by review, do you mean an actual like a Twitch stream of somebody playing the game, or an actual like when I go to IGN and hear them read, a scripted review over the gameplay? You would still prefer the written text.
Yeah, I'm talking. Yeah, that's right.
And
hey, shout out! You guys want to see the gold standard of a written review? DMC Don't Make Cry review by Ryan Clements is the best written review ever. Just so you know.
I'm gonna have to go look that up, because I think it's the third time you've referenced that to me since I've known you.
Well, yeah, it is my gold standard for reviewing games.
Okay, I'll give you that. I haven't read it, so
no, I know that's like a very specific, super nerdy thing that only us games reviewers care about. But
so really and here's another good point. Mark Willis, reviews are a starting point, and I actually am on the same page on this. $60 is a lot to spend just for a game to sit on your shelf and collect dust. Some people will do that because they can, and God bless them for that. But if you are careful about your purchases and you need reviews to ensure that you aren't buying a pricey paperweight, drink coaster, what have you, then if reviews are questionable, don't align with user feedback. You rent the game, you love it, you buy it, and if not, you're only out $5 to $6. Case in point, Death Stranding. I rented it. Didn't buy it.
I rented it and then bought it.
I rented it and did not buy it.
Joke's on me.
Ooh. Yeah, but you're still out just $5 to $6 as opposed to
right. No, renting's really smart. And actually, Mark Willis brings up something that I feel pretty strongly about, especially when I'm listening to games podcasts and stuff. I think most critics have really lost the grasp on what $60 means.
What do you mean? I think I get what you mean, but I want to make sure.
I think a lot of games critics, games media, and I'm like, I don't want to call it out anyone specifically. I think because they have gotten games free for their entire career, they lose the idea of what $60 really means.
Mm-hmm.
And they kind of lose focus on that value.
Right. How do you hang on to that value as a critic yourself now?
Well, for us, we don't get every single game free.
Right.
And for me, and I'm going to guess you, we're such avid gamers that the $60, it does matter, but I would rather spend $60 on an 8-hour incredible game than a 40-hour okay game.
I'm with you.
But I try to keep, I try to always be cognizant of the fact that $60 is a lot of money, and for, not everyone's like us out there buying 30 games a year.
And that's something I hope I never lose sight of, regardless of how big we grow this thing. That's something I'm very, very passionate about, of not losing sight of and ever getting to the point where I am. What do you say it above anything else? Like I'm still a gamer. I'm still paying for my games. I don't want to lose that.
Yeah, I don't ever. And for what it's worth, I don't think there's ever been a case of us getting a free game and that making it easier for us to give a better score.
No, I mean sometimes I feel really bad. I've given bad scores to games in the past.
Right, that we get code for.
And I have to send it back to the, thankfully the way it works is you don't usually have to contact the developer directly. You're passing it off to a PR rep, and then the PR rep has to give the bad news.
I would say, God bless the PR people, because they even take bad scores in stride.
Right.
They are literal punching bags.
I think, at least the PR teams, we don't get to interface directly with developers too much. But those PR teams, they seem to admire the honest feedback more than anything else.
Than fluff.
Here's the thing. If you keep making... If you take every single review at face value and be like, oh yeah, they love our game, you're never going to change anything up.
And I was going to say, to your point, CV, I think when you give a developer back a 6 out of 10, they probably knew they were shipping a 6 out of 10.
Mm-hmm.
It's not going to be a surprise to them.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm not here to blow smoke at people.
No, of course not.
Right. I mean,
I didn't pay a dime for Assassin's Creed Odyssey, and I still gave it a 5.5.
Hey, I didn't pay a dime for Tour de France 2019. Gave it a 3.
Yeah, luckily
Ubisoft 3.
Ubisoft was Scott's PR contact, so no skid off my back.
Yeah, I had to deliver that one. So they haven't been knocking on my door yet, going, "Hey, you got any more of them aggressively average reviews?"
What else you got from Zach Parkinson coming our way? Has he played that new Far Cry? You give it a 4.
What about you, Zach? How much credit do you give reviews?
CJ Moore said that the number of stars is certainly a factor when scoping out a new title, but by no means the biggest factor. I would say in order of importance, things I consider are 1, things I've heard about the game from trusted sources, 2, what I know about the content, 3, quality of previous versions and prequels, 4, random people on the interwebs.
Random people being at the bottom of the totem pole is probably a great call. And guess what? That's Metacritic.
Yes. Well, the random people on the internet, it's either a 10 out of 10 or a 1 out of 10.
Yes, that frustrates me. It's well, like I said, I want it to be binary. I want it to be one or the other. Yeah. That's what people's mentality is. I liked it. It's a 10. I didn't like it. It's a 1.
But it feels like it's either like, oh my God, I can't believe I spent this money. How can I unspend it? I'm going to sue them. Or like, this game cured my cancer. It seems to be the only two extremes.
Right. It's kind of crazy. Don Smith. You had more?
I was going to say CJ is, he's right. You got to go to the people you trust. You find the critics you like. If Jeff Gerstmann likes a game, that's worth noting. That doesn't happen too often.
Not anymore. Hasn't happened in a long time. Don Smith goes on to say, I think reviews that are based around preferences are useless, as everyone feels differently about everything. I'd prefer to know if a game is functioning correctly rather than a person's opinion on it. And that kind of goes back to...
Don.
What? See you saying?
Yeah, exact opposite of what I was saying.
Yeah.
Wow.
She just wants to know if it works. If it works, then she's going to buy it.
I like to think that if it ships, it works. After a patch. I said after a patch.
Well, that's the problem, is if I need a patch day 1 so my game works, I did not ship a functional game.
That's fair.
That's every game, though.
No.
When was the last time you played a game without a day 1 patch?
I've played a couple on Switch.
You're also not buying physical copies, man.
Yeah,
if you buy a digital copy, it comes with they install the patch.
The day 1 patch is part of your download.
I buy a lot of physical copies.
Well, of old stuff.
No. Even new
stuff. Are you
stuff.
opening these physical copies?
Yes.
Or are you just buying the game twice?
No, I buy the like Pokemon Sword and Shield.
I'm talking about PS4 and Xbox. Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah, I can't imagine you buy a lot of physical Xbox One games.
Yeah. Well, I mean, almost everything I've bought for PS4, they've all been limited run titles, so they're like after the fact.
You're just backpedaling now, man. You're just totally backpedaling.
I do buy physical copies. You harp on me for it, but
Yeah, you buy physical copies of the ones for your collection that you're actually not like playing right now.
I have
I'm talking about
200 Xbox One games.
I know.
Physical copies.
So Dawn has a good point, though, that I just don't agree with.
Okay.
I can see where Dawn's coming from, with the idea that, well, if you're just scoring it based on your personal preferences, and who's it helping? But I think it is helping.
Well, I think personal preferences have some credence, though. If you are, the trick is finding a reviewer or a set of reviewers that align with your tastes and personality. Right. There's a guy that I follow religiously. You guys all know who I'm talking about, and I know for the most part, if he likes a game, 8 or 9 times out of 10, I'm going to like it as well. It's just we have very similar personalities in terms of we like single player games. We're not big on multiplayer a whole ton. That's me. We like story driven stuff. We like games that kind of do something different. And he's also not my stopgap. He's not the first and last place I go to. I'm gonna look around. I mean, it helps that I love games so much, and I just love hearing other people talk about them, and I love reading anything I can find my hands on about a topic that I'm interested in. So I'm not going to devote it to one person's score or an aggregate score either. So, and I think John may agree with me as well here. John Mann says, I tend to follow reviews, but I won't trust information from a single source. If I really want to know what opinion I will likely have on a game, I will watch reviews from at least 5 or 6 different sources on YouTube and then decide if the aesthetic of the game appeals to me. And that pretty much sums up exactly what I was saying.
He also said Death Stranding YouTube reviews sold him on the game.
Yes, Death Stranding. He said Death Stranding's YouTube reviews sold him on the game, despite the many negative ones. I could tell that the things they didn't find appealing about the game really spoke to me. So the negative reviews actually influenced his purchase, which is interesting.
You want to hear a fun anecdote about Zach? I didn't play Nier until a few years until after it came out, actually.
Uh-huh.
And it was a review on YouTube that every negative thing they said was like, oh, that sounds like something that would appeal to me. And that's what sold me on the game.
Interesting.
They were like, oh, there's this annoying gardening mini game you have to do when you go back to your home. I'm like, that sounds fun.
And you tried it. And so did John, and it worked out. So where do you guys land on scores then when it comes to reviews? Should they be added, or do you think they should just be eliminated altogether? Zach, I already know where you land because you told us.
Yeah, I'm very pro review score.
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand. Yeah, I feel like the people that want them gone are usually the critics themselves, and they're you're kind of valuing your words over functionality. I don't like that. But David Newman said, I would say that they play a factor in my game choice. If review scores are lower, I start seeing what people in the community are saying. See, the number is just a quick way to gauge something, to know whether or not you need to look more into it.
And that's what I think they should be. That's what I believe a review score, why it's important. It just gives you an idea. Like you said, you and I are in simpatico here, man. We look at the score to get a gauge of what we're looking at, what we're about to jump into in terms of reading the review.
And it's just nice for that quick hit.
Yeah.
You can find out if they hate it, like it, or love it, and then you can read it afterwards to find out exactly what their reasonings were.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Then Time Dahan said, no, I don't. I usually watch most and all of my gameplay videos of the game, see what the gamers, not reviewers, but how many gamers are enjoying it. And I base my mind from there. Take Days Gone, for example. I saw that most reviews lean towards mediocre to average. However, many gamers were enjoying it, and when I saw the gameplay, I was hooked. I pre-ordered it and loved it throughout. It had fun gameplay, even though generic, except the horde element, which is effective in terms of mixing it up. The story was a fun ride to go through, and it was an overall well-crafted world with strong characters, well-done survival, and gunplay, and it was obviously very good-looking. Well, of course it was good-looking. It starred Sam Witwer, and he was very good-looking.
I swear we don't go a podcast that you mentioned. And that guy.
Former Jedi.
Yeah.
That's kind of, I feel like this year in particular has really hit a point of critics and gamers kind of being a little out of whack.
Yeah. I could definitely agree with that.
It's been very interesting to watch because, critics did not like Days Gone at all, but gamers love it and it sold very well. I would be very surprised if you do not see Days Gone 2 after those numbers.
Right.
That's super, and the critics, they were off the mark on that one. That's kind of fascinating to see. Or I guess you could even see Control. Critics loved it, but clearly gamers did not want to pick that up.
Yeah, well, it was also not marketed at all. I don't think I ever would have heard about Control if it weren't for me listening to podcasts.
I feel like I saw some ads here or there, but you were right. It was mid-tier publisher was trying to promote a AAA game. That's tough.
CB, what do you think? Where do you land?
Well, I'm pulling one from Twitter here, just because it kind of aligns with my thoughts. Jennifer at Desert Rose 0601. Never. I watch people play some on YouTube and listen to trusted friends or lovely people in the Go community and make my decision that way.
Nice.
So, believe it or not, the last time I looked up a Metacritic score or a Game Critic score before doing research for this episode was never.
Interesting.
I actually never look at game scores. Plain and simple. If it's something that appeals to my interest, I pick it up. I play it. Like I said, every now and then I play a pretty bad dud, but I basically like to play games not only for like the enjoyment that I get out of the game, but I've said this so many times that somebody put their hard work, time, heart, and soul into making a game, and I believe that they should be appreciated in some way, shape, or form for that.
Yeah, somebody worked their butt off on Superman 64.
Yeah, and guess what? Played it.
Yeah.
And it was great.
Tyler Seaver agrees with you. He says, I never read the scores. I personally, I do read the scores. I'm like Zach. I like the number. I kind of always have, but I don't rely on it. And Dustin Ridling took it a step further. He said, I prefer going with audience scores lately. The critics are mostly lame.
Wow,
and
shots fired at us, I guess.
Well, that was kind of why I brought it up. I don't know where we land, because do we consider ourselves critics? Do we we're not on Metacritic as critics? You know, we've got our own little website.
I have a few reviews up there.
Do you? From your old website or from here?
From a site I used to write.
Okay.
For. I guess you could find out where it was, but I don't know if I should say the name here.
Oh, okay.
But like my Beyond Two Souls review is weighted on Metacritic. I'm pretty excited about that.
Nice.
Yeah, so I don't know. But no, you're right. Yeah, the Gaming Outsider is not weighted on Metacritic currently.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm sure we could get there one day.
Someday.
I don't
crossed.
need to be on Metacritic because, again, as we said, I don't really like Metacritic.
Right. But I will tell you that some of my contacts ask, are you rated on Metacritic? And I always have to answer no. And
okay, well, work harder to get us there.
That closes doors for us. So
it does feel cooler being on there.
Yeah,
just having my name on there a few times is cool. Yeah, even though I don't like it.
I got a review on Rotten Tomatoes when I was with the Hollywood Outsider.
That's pretty cool, right?
It feels cool, man.
Even though that's another side I don't like.
Yeah,
I don't like these aggregators.
I hear you.
Can we? Podcasts are a great way to learn about games too.
I agree.
Just to hear people converse about them.
Mm-hmm.
Although I almost got talked out of Death Stranding.
We came close to talking you out of it, huh?
Well, there's like a week of every podcast telling me how bad it was, and the reviews are all the reviews I read were mediocre. And I was like, fine, I'll rent it instead of buying it. And I loved it.
Wow.
Yeah. See, like I said, I don't look at scores. I listen to what other people say and what other people write. Plain and simple. I actually prefer word of mouth.
Yeah, word of mouth. I mean, podcast is basically word of mouth.
Yeah, and that's what I like.
I listen to an unhealthy amount of podcasts, for sure.
I mean, I don't really consider myself a critic. It's just my opinion on something. And
it is your critique of something.
I know, but
there's an air of superiority around the word critic.
I've never said I was a game critic to somebody. I'm like, yeah, I write about games.
Yeah.
My Twitter bio is I write about games sometimes.
Yes.
Yeah. I feel dirty with if somebody calls me a critic. Ugh.
Yeah, there's something about I'm a games critic. I don't pay for games. The publisher comes to me so that way I can assert my opinion. That's what it feels like.
Those are words you will never hear come out of my mouth. And if they do, I give you all permission to slap me.
Oh, I will slap that right now.
I know you will, man. I have no doubt that you would do that. So, well, that was a fun topic, guys. That went a lot longer than I anticipated it, but I think it was a good conversation.
Got more out of that than I thought.
You say that every week, man. I
you're
swear,
right.
you look
Sometimes.
whenever I post a topic, I can just hear Zach going, "Ugh." And
That's not true.
then it
There
turns
was I think maybe one time where I was active, where I like maybe even told you beforehand. I'm like, that's a bad topic.
and it was good.
And I was
wasn't it?
wrong. Yeah, I was wrong.
Yeah.
In Go Cat Scott, I trust.
Well, Jennifer mentioned our Go community, and if you'd like to join that community, head over to facebook.com/groups/the GoCast. We've got an awesome community, over 1,100 people, all talking about games, and we try to keep it updated as much as possible with current events in the gaming industry, as well as any reviews and podcasts that we do here. Also, we've got a Discord community, which the link for that is in the show notes for this episode. We got some new members over there to say hello to. First off, we've got Elite Tauren Chieftain, IP Pop, and Chuckling Book. I'm always curious with the names that people could come up with on Discord because I just put my name.
Well, Elite Tauren Chieftain would be a Warcraft reference.
Is it? Okay. I'd see. That's a game that I'm not familiar with. So, also, we don't have any iTunes reviews to share with you this week, but if you guys have a free minute, do us a favor, head over to iTunes and let us know what you think of the Gaming Outsider podcast. It helps us get the word out, get more people listening to the show, and we obviously take that criticism to heart, and we'll do our best to give you the best show possible. We've also got some written reviews available for you on the website, which is, by the way, thegamingoutsider.com. Spencer wrote a couple of reviews. First up, Woven, and then Luigi's Mansion 3 are all on there. Thomas, over out in Ireland, wrote a review for an early access game called Encased. And then you can read, finally, my review of Children of Morta, available now on the website. Trust me, play that game. It is a contender for my top 5 of the year. It's an awesome game.
Spoilers, Scott likes it.
I love that game so much. But in the meantime, let's go ahead and jump into some games we've actually been playing. Oh, we are so close to Star Wars. I want to talk about Star Wars so badly, but Zach, before you do, what do we got coming on the horizon?
Oh, sure. I mean, finally, we have a light week. We're at the end of November,
I feel like we have a light rest of the year.
which is great because we got some catching up to do.
Yes, we do.
Well, some of you do.
Right. Well, CB, I don't know.
Well, some of us
I don't
don't finish 25-hour games in a 24-hour period.
He's
Get
faster
good,
than
son.
time. That's the time itself. Well, right at the top, November 19th, my Kickstarter package will finally be delivered with Shenmue 3 on PS4 and PC.
There you go. You can have that.
That is an 18-year wait.
Wow, it's a long time.
That is something. And then PSVR game Gollum comes out November 19th. I feel like we've heard about this game for ages.
Isn't that Golem?
I think
Mm,
regional.
Yeah, it's regional.
pronunciation.
Okay, all right.
But we're in the same region, so I would assume that you would say Gollum.
Well, I thought Gollum is Lord of the Rings. I hear Gollum, I think Lord of the Rings. Golem, I think of an actual, creature.
Am I wrong, CB? You say Gollum?
Gollum.
Yeah. It's Gollum. You've been outvoted. Civilization 6 gets ported to consoles, the PS4, Xbox One, November 22nd.
That's actually really tempting.
And the franchise that just always slinks along, Sniper Ghost Warrior Contracts, PS4, Xbox One, and PC, November 22nd.
Not to rub salt in the wound there, but how does another Sniper Ghost Warrior game get made and not Splinter Cell?
Because Ubisoft has a grudge against me. Never says that Assassin's Creed review, man. They just can't stand me. They refuse to greenlight Splinter Cell because of it.
You're the reason we don't have Splinter Cell.
Wouldn't that be funny? Are you guys excited for any of these?
Like I said, I would play Civilization 6 if I didn't have a ton of other stuff to play. I've always liked the Civilization games. The newer ones kind of scare me a little bit, but I still like the formula. I don't think I'm going to play it this time around, but of these 4, that's the one I'm most interested in.
Gollum.
I figured, yeah. It's a VR game.
Yeah. I might actually get around to playing some VR stuff again.
Well, that'd be exciting. Let us know how Gollum is. Shenmue 3 for me, obviously.
Yeah.
I put some money in that Kickstarter. I watched the launch trailer. The voice acting is just as bad as you want it to be. It's awesome.
So they did that on purpose, I assume?
I think they had to have.
I would hope so.
Yes. Yeah, light week though, Scott, as you're saying.
I hope it continues that way because there are so many games that I need to get to. Thank God I finished Control though. That took a lot longer than I thought it was going to.
Yeah, it was a real good game.
It was a good game. Well, finally, guys, we're going to talk about Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, and I think that this discussion may go in a different direction than I was anticipating. So
I hope it gets heated.
Who wants to start?
Oh, that was CB, just for the people listening at home.
Oh, okay. You
not a fan.
Really did not like this game.
I liked the story.
Okay.
I hate with a passion the gameplay.
Really? Says the guy who. Well, do you think maybe anything has to do with? Do you think there's anything that has to do with that? The fact that you sat down and played this in one sitting, basically.
No, like I said, I love. Like, don't get me wrong. This is not a bad game.
Well, there's no such thing.
I love the story. There's some story beats that happen later in the game that I'm not happy with.
Hmm.
And I can't talk about them because I don't want to spoil it for anybody. But I hate Souls games. And for me, like, I've now played through this game. I have no desire to ever touch this game again. Ever.
So is it just the combat that you don't like, or you don't like the backtracking formula? What?
No, the backtracking is fine. It's the combat. I don't want to sit here and spend 10 minutes on a boss fight. Parry, 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 block, 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 parry, attack, block, block, parry, parry.
That's what I want.
That is not fun.
Yeah, it is. Don't play Sekiro.
I played Sekiro. I had more fun playing that.
It's so similar. The parrying, anyway.
But for some reason, that game, it clicked for me. This, no. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have to sit here and parry certain types of stormtroopers 4 times and get just wrecked by them.
Were you playing on the normal difficulty?
I was not playing on the easy one.
Why? That wasn't
understandable, but I always go for the middle of the road whenever I play.
I wasn't coming at your skill set. I'm sorry. I was just
no.
Just curious.
It's not that. Like I will never choose easy for a game. I usually choose normal or hard.
Well, there's no middle ground. There was 4 levels of difficulties. It was 1, 2, 3, or 4.
Yeah. So I chose the second one.
Yeah, that's what I did.
I'm just very frustrated on how hard they made it this for just the normal. Like, I'm a Jedi. Like, stormtroopers are dumb. They can't hit anything with a blaster.
Well, I respect the hell out of this game that stormtroopers go down in one hit. The regular ones.
Right.
That's cool. That's cool. For a video game where there needs to be a challenge. That's cool.
There's things about it that, like I said, I adore. I like the fact that they have basically a brand new set of characters, which I love, especially because it's the Star Wars universe. There's so many different ways you can take it.
Right.
And the characters just feel like they belong in the universe.
Yes. Cal Festus is awesome. Plus, he's a ginger.
That was weird. I was surprised.
Yeah, you were expected to hate that guy, weren't you?
Well, I thought he'd be boring as hell, yeah.
Yeah.
But you don't see it. You don't often. You see female redheads all the time. They're a dime a dozen.
Yep.
But male redheads are exceedingly rare.
Well, I mean,
in video games,
1/8 of our team has red hair.
Yeah, I understand.
It's starting to go white.
Yeah. So really, you hated this game?
Like I said, I don't hate it. I just have no desire to ever pick it up again. For me, it's like I'm glad I'm done with it. I enjoyed the story, but I got better things to do, man.
Really take the wind out of my sails here. I had so much excitement going into this.
Yeah, so did I. Man, well, Zach, what did you think of Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order?
Yeah, well, now I got to try to pick myself up.
Aggressively average.
That's harsh. I have never fallen in love with a video game this hard, this fast, ever.
That is a bold claim, man.
Yeah, I know.
This hard, that fast.
This is the perfect amalgamation of everything I love about video games. You know, the Prince of Persia platforming, the combat that is so good, especially on the hard setting where the parry windows are tight as hell. It really pushes you to your limits.
I cannot get those parries down, by the way, man. My timing sucks with parries.
I love it. It is very Sekiro Bloodborne kind of thing. I think the platforming is great because you can actually mess up, which has been a long time in video games since you could mess up platforming. It requires actual player input, unlike an Uncharted or something. It has a skill tree that I don't hate. It's so platforming focused. I love that Metroidvania level design with the upgrades, just like a Metroidvania. It has all these shortcuts and stuff of level design of a Souls game, and you can do your little meditations.
Can we touch on that for a second? Because this is something I was talking to you about today when we were texting about the game, and I hope you don't mind me jumping in because I want to use this as a way to counter what CB said, because he says that he hates Souls gameplay, right? And I always have not been able to wrap my head around Souls games at all. I played a little bit of Bloodborne. I played an even less bit of Dark Souls. I've never touched Sekiro because I was scared to death of it. But now that I've put about 10 or 12 hours into Fallen Order, I'm starting to understand the appeal of it, because to me this feels like a Souls light game. Like it has a lot.
Oh boy, now we've got another genre.
Well, but you understand what I mean by that, right? Like it's similar gameplay, but it's not nearly as punishing or difficult as a Souls game.
What I could see, that's why I was asking about the difficulty, not to poo-poo on CB skills, is because I've been curious because I've been playing on the hard mode.
Hardest or
just the regular hard, because I saw a developer on Twitter say, "Hey, if you play Dark Souls, you should play this on hard."
Okay.
Because the enemies are more aggressive and the parry windows are tighter, so it's more akin to an actual Souls game.
Okay.
And the enemy placements are different. They actually made real difficulty swaps. It's cool. But I was curious because I feel like Souls combat lives or dies because it is so hard.
Mm-hmm.
That I was curious how it'd be like if it's easier. But you say because you haven't played them before, that's still challenging to you.
Yeah, I like seriously. This game is making me want to give Dark Souls another shot.
See, that's awesome. So it's kind of like it's accessible Souls.
Accessible Souls. That's better than saying or Souls light, because it sounds too much like Souls like, which, like you said, is its own genre. But and again, this is common for everybody else that's played Souls games or any of the From Software games, where they're not campfires. They're these meditation spots that you have, and whenever you get there, turns out
Qui-Gon was only saving in that fight with Darth Maul.
Okay, and then.
See, CB got it. I thought that was funny. Whatever.
I'll give you credit on that one.
Thank you. I've been saving that one since Friday, guys.
These are the safe points. Once you get to those, you're safe there. Now you have the option to refill your health, but if you do, all the enemies respawn. They're going to be repopulated back in there, so you may have to fight through them all again. But the moments that are really cool to me. And this is what you keep telling me about with Dark Souls, where you play for 45 minutes and you suddenly find a shortcut that brings you back to the starting area. It feels awesome because it's a new way for you to feel safe outside of the meditation spaces. Because now it's like I can get there easier and I don't have to worry about traipsing all the way back. I've made it through that area. Now I can just bypass it and it feels safe.
I can use this bonfire and I don't have to go through all the enemies again.
Exactly.
And it also gives you a second to applaud the level designers.
Right.
That was clever. You took me on a 40-minute detour, and here I am back where I started. That's awesome.
Right. I feel like I'm getting a small glimpse as to why people like you love the Souls games so much. I'm still scared to death of the difficulty because I'm just not good at even this one that's much easier. I'm lucky if I parry, man. I seriously, I feel like I'm mashing more than I am parrying. Because I get so frustrated.
I will warn you right now, get good with the parry, or the last 3 bosses in this game, you'll never get past them.
Okay.
I keep hearing that the final boss really cranks up the parry.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And I want to say plain and simple, like I said, this is not a bad game.
No, I don't think we're saying that you are. You're not a fan of the combat. It's just not your kind of game.
No, and it's more or less like the boss fights in this game just piss me off.
Now that's a Souls game.
To a degree of like every Star Wars game I've ever had, like I've ever played, I've had fun with. This is the first time I've ever played a Star Wars game where I'm like, I really hate elements of this game. And you notice I didn't bring up the fact that I've had some glitch errors, some technical glitches.
I had a crash. I had one crash.
I had like 2 or 3. I've had enemies randomly fall through the floor. So, like, there's minor things like that, which I'm okay. I can overlook those. Like, I understand games are complex. They're like, there's a lot of coding in them, and I'm not knocking the game for that at all. It's just when I play a Star Wars game, that's for the most part, the Star Wars universe has always been like that kind of family friendly, like fun thing to play. There's just elements of this game that just really frustrate me and make me upset over the fact that like it could have been slightly different.
See,
I'm not sure how.
That seriously surprises me because out of all of us, I feel like I suck at these games the most. I seriously, and I have yet to come across a boss that I have not been able to finish with dying more than once or twice.
I think the final boss I died close to 20 times.
Well, again, you're finished the game. I'm only about halfway through it, so
right.
And the boss that you're talking about, I feel like I've come across at an earlier stage, and it was rough, but there was a pattern to it that I felt like I had down by the time I got to the second time.
And the funny thing is, I don't even consider that the hardest boss in the game.
See, I like because there are characters you go up against who can go toe-to-toe with a Jedi.
Mm-hmm.
And I love those fights because I feel like these elaborate one-on-one duels, it feels like I'm in a lightsaber battle.
Yes, which is something we've wanted in a Star Wars game for forever.
Right, and when you're not doing damage, you're just reducing their stamina, like most Souls games.
Mm-hmm.
It's lightsaber on lightsaber contact, which is like a super cool thing that I like.
Well, I am shocked at how much I am digging this game. I don't think I am as head over heels in love with it as you are, but it is a game that I am struggling to put down. I have been playing, I think all day Saturday. I think I sat down for 8 to 10 hours straight and just played.
Yeah,
I'm just absolutely loving it.
I like I said, I powered through this game because I really like the story and the characters.
Mm-hmm.
Up until I'd say the last 30 minutes. There's something that happens that just irritates me.
Say no more.
Yeah,
I'm just saying, just irritates me.
Okay, I'm curious, but
I'm curious as well. But one of the things that I was surprised by with this game, Zach, is you told me that the developers were quoted to say that they took inspiration from Metroid Prime, and I didn't believe you or them. I was like, there's no way. That map is straight up a Metroid Prime map.
Well, and not only the maps, which are awesome, and what I really love about the Metroidvania aspect they were talking about with the Metroid Prime connection, is that there are different planets, so they're contained sizes.
Correct.
Which I love because one of my favorite things in games is learning the environment, like learning an area, knowing it so well that you're like, oh right, I know this turn, which you can't really get from open world games, but a Metroid game. You can. There
are a couple times where on the one planet that I struggled, like trying to see, like looking at the maps, and I don't know how to get from here to there. And it's not like it's an unknown area, because I feel like when you don't know where you're supposed to go, the map is really great about showing you, hey, this door is orange, which means that you can you haven't been through there yet, and you can bypass it very easily. Or the green ones are just perfectly accessible that you now have whatever ability you need to pass through that. If it's red, don't even bother. And I love that.
There's one color code, and I can't remember which it is, where it's like you couldn't get to the store when you saw it, but now you have an ability where you can.
Correct. That's
cool.
That's green. Yeah.
That's a great little touch.
And I love it. I never feel like the only time I ever struggle to know where to go next is when I've already opened up the map and I'm trying to figure out how to work my way back. Like that first planet, after you complete it, they give you a shortcut that just makes it very easy to go back. And I didn't get that on the second or third planet, and I'm having to like go back through the level and find this and follow that up just to get back to my ship. But I don't know.
Well, I do always like when you go back to the ship, though, you have a new ability that makes it doesn't make it feel like you're just going slogging back.
Right.
You're hitting some new routes along the way.
Right, and then you'll come across something that you may not have noticed before. I mean, some of them are obvious. Like you'll come across, before you got the wall run, you'll come across a wall and it's like, oh, I'm going to learn how to wall run later, or I'm going to learn how to double jump later. I think we had this conversation too about near that spider, because I think you said to me, yeah, you're probably going to get a double jump at some point in the game. And I was like, oh
yeah.
Well, that makes sense.
Get a little Jedi jump.
But,
but like another thing I wanted to touch on is I really, really do enjoy the story for this.
mm-hmm.
The progression of the character is kind of reminds me a little bit of Force Unleashed, where your character basically begins at like one point, and towards the end your character just, it's a wonderful progression of like a Star Wars character through like learning their force powers, and it's just put together very, very well.
And the story also has like these little moments that I don't expect. Like there are a lot of I was not expecting interpersonal drama in this. There's some infighting amongst your crew. Like I don't think like that's a spoiler. That's how stories work.
Mm-hmm.
But they slow it down and actually like take time to examine the characters in ways I was not expecting from the lightsaber video game, which is super great. You really get to learn these characters.
Also by the way, BD1 way cooler than BB8. I'm making a bold comment right there.
Nope.
BD1 is cute as a butt.
Oh,
I love
seriously.
BD1.
He's my little buddy.
Also, small gripe. I'm really tired of double-bladed lightsabers.
You're tired of them?
Yeah.
Not me.
Nope. I'd rather just have two lightsabers. I'm just really sick of double-bladeds.
I've always been a one-blade guy.
Yeah, like one blade is my favorite, but Star Killer style.
Well, yeah, or Ahsoka has that style as well. Another thing I really love is how reactive the enemies are. The stormtroopers, how they talk and stuff.
Yes,
they're like, it's just you and me, man. And then you kill your friend. He's like, oh no.
I do like that.
Yes, like there's like three of them. And you pound one really hard. And then the other's like, oh, we still got this. You kill the second one. He's like, oh, no, this is bad.
Yeah, but then you get some of them that are cocky and they're trying to talk crap on you. And you're like, dude, I'm a Jedi, my man.
I love that you start to learn how to handle certain enemies. Like the Temple Guardians. The first time I came across one of those, I'm like, oh, my God. And then you learn that you use the ability. I'm trying to be vague so people can kind of experience it. But then it becomes second nature to face certain enemies.
That is a Dark Souls thing. For sure.
I believe it.
Like this enemy is frightening, and then 30 minutes later, you're like, oh, this guy's no big deal.
Also, some of the puzzles there are like Tomb Raider-esque puzzles. I mean, not quite as complicated. They almost feel like Breath of the Wild shrine puzzles. Like whether they're physics based or something, that are just so clever. I love it. I feel like I haven't played a game, and I don't know why I don't remember ever seeing this before. I've played games where there's always like some kind of wind thing that's pushing you if you're jumping, but this one actually forces you to jump to lead into the wind so that the wind actually carries you to the next platform, which is awesome. Like I love the platforming in this game because you can mess up. Right. If you fall, you just respawn really quick.
Well, yeah, and you actually, it requires player input to succeed, which is just not the case in modern games.
Right.
Nate, you shoot off to the side in an Uncharted jump. Nate will glide his way to the ledge, or Lara. In this game, if you jump off to the side, well, you missed.
Yep.
Better luck next time.
I will definitely say I feel that my platforming skills after playing this game have improved
See, isn't that great?
Yeah, like I will give them that. There's one puzzle that you guys are going to run into later in the game that seriously took me probably 20 minutes to figure out.
Great.
I love that.
And even then, I feel I kind of cheated it a little. So it's very complicated.
But and you know what? No useless loot in this game. I'm not putting in a crystal to my lightsaber that improves my damage radius 2%.
I will agree with you on that, but I wish sometimes there was something more inside those treasure chests than lightsaber parts or a cloak or... I want something a little more exciting.
All the loot is just vanity.
Here's another thing where I swear to God, Respawn made the game for me. Like, they just were like, what does Zach want? Because that's what I want. I don't want... Like in Borderlands, I don't want to open the chest because I don't care about the extra 5% bullets in my clip.
Oh, see,
in this game, I'm like, I want to see what this new poncho look is.
Now, see, I agree with you on this one because at the end of the day, it's a lightsaber. Like, I don't feel that like, oh man, this lightsaber gives me additional like 6 strength. To me, that never made sense.
No, yeah, I'm with you on that. But like, I don't know, give me a quarter of a stim container or something. You know what I mean?
But you can't find extra sim containers and stuff.
No, I know. But I found I think 3 so far to where I'm at.
I got 10.
You have 10? Okay. No, I mean I've earned 3. Like so you now have
4.
No, I have 5 because don't you start with? I have 5.
Okay, I have 5 as well.
Yeah,
which those are cool. Or they have like the pieces of heart you can find basically.
Right. But there's like I think they're cut into thirds. I think instead of quarters, like in Zelda. But
but it's, the same principle applies.
Right.
The life and
force
power. Some of those are like really, really hard to find.
Yeah, some of them you can't find until you've got new abilities. That's why it's always fun to go back to these planets and just explore.
Love that game design.
Yeah,
very very Arkham.
Plus, actually getting to set foot on Dathomir, is
pretty excellent.
Really, really good.
I can't wait. I tried going there right away.
Me too.
It was just.
You got handed.
My skills were not up to snuff yet. I did not have the parry window down quite yet.
Well, and plus, once you start getting some of those upgrades, the upgrades are significant, man. I mean. The abilities that you get, it's a game changer in terms of how you handle stuff. I feel like when I go back to that first planet now and I'm facing these enemies that I was struggling with at the beginning, now it's a cakewalk.
Man, and we gotta get Bloodborne in your hands, Scott.
Yeah,
but no, you're absolutely right, and you get new abilities and stuff, and you're getting new stuff at such a pace where there's always a new wrinkle to combat being added, which is tremendous.
I am loving this game,
and I really gotta give it to Respawn and honestly EA somehow that they made a game that asks so much of the player and attaches a massive license to it.
Yeah, because it's not an easy game. If you've never gotten into these types of games before,
and like that type of combat, it's not going to appeal to everyone. Like it didn't appeal to CB. Like that's such a specific form of video game combat.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And just not going to do it.
I feel if that combat was removed and changed, I'd have a lot more love for this game.
I wonder if you played it on easy, if you would enjoyed it more.
No, because I went back and tried some on easy too.
Oh, it's the same thing?
Yeah. I will definitely say without a doubt it is the best Star Wars game to come out since Force Unleashed.
Well, that's okay. It's a low bar.
I was going to say there hasn't been a whole lot.
It's a low bar.
He stepped over that limbo bar.
But there are some people that really do love Battlefront. So I'll like 10 of them.
Yeah, those people are whatever.
Well, we should probably move on. I guess I feel like I can still talk.
If we're gonna close, I feel like my enthusiasm is not properly coming across.
Okay,
I love the hell.
Enthuse me, Zach.
Well, I'm just gonna read the text I sent you, Scott.
Okay.
Where it's like, I cannot believe what I'm playing. The combat of Sekiro, the shortcuts and bonfires of Dark Souls, the exploration and puzzles of Tomb Raider, the platforming of Prince of Persia, the upgrades of Metroid, the setting is Star Wars, all perfect in a way that Respawn always does. I'm in actual heaven.
Yes.
There you go. That should sum it up. I love this.
It was pretty
Like
funny because you actually had this. You kept saying, "I got to stop gushing about Star Wars." I feel like I'm annoying you by talking about how much I love this game over text.
I just want to keep texting you because I could not believe what I'm playing.
Yeah.
Well, I
let me know if I annoy you. By the way,
with both of you once you finish this game.
Oh, I have a feeling that will happen for sure.
Yeah, I hope. Yeah, I assume I will complete this. I will. Maybe we need to do a spoiler cast. Who knows?
Yeah.
No promises. Just so nobody gets it twisted.
Well, again, that is Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. CB and I are playing it on Xbox One. Zach, you are playing it on PS4.
Absolutely.
And I know that none of us are playing on PC, but Josh Ershman is playing it on PC. He says he's got it cranked, and he says it looks stunning, as I would imagine it does. I think it looks pretty good even on console, except for the Wookiees. What?
Spaghetti hair.
What happened with the Wookiees, man? They did not look good.
I know.
But
hey, speaking of hair, isn't it cool how his hair always moves around when he jumps and stuff?
Yeah, dude.
There's a bunch of little details in this game.
And that
Respawn, 2 of the best games of the year.
I will also say I'm a little disappointed. No text scroll.
Yeah, I feel like I'm in the minority Star Wars opinion where I kind of used to get annoyed at the crawl.
I was okay with it in games that were like of the original trilogy, like Super Star Wars or Super Empire Strikes Back or Super Return of the Jedi. I was in the minority of people that liked that it wasn't there, like in Solo or in Rogue One.
I am with you, sir. I was pleased Mandalorian did not have one.
Yep.
I always used to bug me because you get like the random PSP Star Wars and they felt like they earned the crawl. I'm like, no, you didn't.
Yeah.
Star Wars Bounty Hunter does not need the crawl. The Force Unleashed does. That felt like it was episode 3.5.
Mm-hmm. I would say that the Shadows of the Empire, I think, did as well.
Yeah. Well, that was a multimedia blitz, son.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I always liked the crawl, man.
Oh, I like it being reserved for the episodes because that way when it happens at the beginning of an episode 8, I tear up.
Right.
Okay, I'll give you that.
It's been so long since I've seen it.
I actually, we've been talking about Disney Plus a little bit. There's a documentary. It's like 2.5 hours long on Star Wars that I hadn't. If it had released before, I hadn't seen it in a long time, and I watched it. And man, there's some interesting information on that. There's one. I'm totally going off tangent here, but there's one shot that I will never be able to unsee ever again. When the sand people. When Luke is fighting him and he does the whole and he puts the gaffy stick in the air or whatever. Do you know in the original shot of that, he just put it up once like this and held it. And so they literally rocked the reel back and forth like this. And if you watch it very closely, you can tell it's the exact same motion. It's just going back and forth because when they filmed it, he just put it up once and that was the end of the shot. Oh, that's
funny.
So now you watch that scene, you will never be able to unsee that. And it was never obvious to me how many hundreds of times I've seen that movie. But anyway, so total side tangent. Let's move on because we are running out of time here. CB, I want to hear about Bee Simulator, which you were playing on Xbox One, which is a game that you and a couple of the other guys from our team are just saying that this looks like a ton of fun and I don't get it. Can you explain to me why Bee Simulator is something that you wanted to play?
Well, first off, it is fun.
Okay.
You play as a bee and do bee things. So I like simulation games. The last one, if you remember, there was a Sim Ant.
I remember that.
Yeah, way back in the day.
So I like whenever I see something like this where it's a simulation game but from another perspective, instead of the human perspective, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna give it a whirl. And so you play as a bee drone, and for the lack of a better idea, I guess, you go around and collect honey, fly around, annoy people, and just there's even combat in this game. You have to fight off wasps and hornets. So
it's third person behind the perspective of the bee?
Yes.
Okay.
You can also do first person view, flying around. Mm-hmm. But for people who don't understand how a bee's eye works, it has many lenses. Mm-hmm. They actually simulate that. and it can be a little jarring.
Okay.
But it's just weird because all these bees, like they put human voices to them, and like you talk to other bees in the colony.
Okay, I'm getting a little more. I'm just getting slightly more interested in this now.
But in the beginning, you know that your beehive, like the hive, is in a tree that is set to be cut down in a park.
Okay.
So, you basically are going out into the world trying to find food, take care of the other bees in the hive, like the larvae, help the queen, while searching for a new place to move the hive to. You run into different types of insects and animals, and it's interesting to play as a bee and like fly around this park and see everything from that size perspective.
Okay. So everything's just like massively larger than you are?
Yes. And it takes place in, I'm guessing like Central Park, because there's one area where there's like boats, and there's another area, there's a zoo, and you can see big like skyscrapers in the background. It's just very fun, and to have a game from a different perspective sometimes. And it's not overly complicated. It's very simple. I'm enjoying it. Like,
is it challenging, or is this kind of like a chill moment of Zen game?
There's times where it's challenging, like the combat is a little, because the combat is almost DDR-esque, where
rhythm game.
There's a scrolling line, and it gives you like a button combination that you have to do, and like you attack, and if you have a perfect combination, that you block their attack. But yeah, for the most part, it's very, very zen.
Okay.
Just flying around having fun, and they sneak in some education on you too. So.
I hate this game now. How dare I learn?
So, yeah, like it's not as many little tidbits, but there was one where it's like an average like drone bee creates 1/12 of a tablespoon of honey over the course of its life. So when you sit in here and think about that, I'm like, man, there's got to be a crap load of bees in the world.
Yeah,
not enough, I hear, according to the bee movie.
They make it abundantly clear in this one too that bees are dying.
Yeah.
So as long as I get my honey, I don't care.
But yeah, I actually recommend this game. It's fun if you're looking for something that's a little different, because it's got some combat, flight sim. It's just interesting.
Do you have any idea like of the length of the game?
No, I don't. I've probably got about 18 hours into this game already. So.
Holy cow!
What?
That's a lot of flying around like a bee.
On top of Jedi, man?
Well, I started playing Bee Simulator a week before Jedi came out. So
okay. All right.
That's gonna say. Do you ever sleep?
No, I don't.
All right.
Who needs it?
Well, again, that is Bee Simulator, and thanks for checking that one out, man. I'm actually a little bit more interested than I thought I would be after hearing you talk about that one. So, all right, before we get out of here, we have some pre-recorded interviews for you as well. I sat down with Nate, our producer, to talk about a game called Sparklite, as well as New Super Lucky's Tale, which is the port that's available on the Nintendo Switch now. And then I also sat down and spoke to Spencer, who played a game called Woven for us, and we'll play those reviews for you right now. All right, I'm here with Nate, our illustrious producer of the podcast. How you doing, man?
I'm doing pretty well. How are you?
I'm doing great, man. We are here to talk about a couple games that you've been playing for us. The first one is called Sparklite. This one comes from Red Blue Games, and it was provided to us by Evolve PR, so shout out to those guys. But I'm really curious to hear you talk about this game, because I was a little jealous that you got to play this one instead of me, because this game has Scott Clark written all over it. It looks like isometric, Zelda-ish, roguelike. Is this what this game is? Please tell me I'm right.
So, in some respects, yes, it is definitely a roguelike, but I think it kind of lacks story, where Zelda would excel in that area.
Really?
As far as aesthetically, it's pretty on par with what you'd feel from like a Zelda-type title.
Okay.
But being a roguelike, it changes up every time you die. So, even though you have the same aspects and the same, I think they're called furnaces, in this title, but they change location throughout the map. So every time you die, the map changes around a little bit.
No, wait a minute. Furnace? Is that like another word for dungeon?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So these furnaces, you go down and you can kill these enemies, obviously. What your whole objective is to gain this crystal called Sparklite.
Mm-hmm.
So let's kind of back up and I'll kind of guide you through the story. So you are on this ship at the start of the game with this little trusty robot, and you are attacked, and you are crash landing into this world that you know nothing about, and you have this amulet, and you find out that this amulet is the key to unlocking tons of different doors and abilities on this. I don't know if it's really a planet per se. I don't know how to really describe where you're at, but your central hub is kind of like a balloon ship, and you go down onto this planet that is currently in a state of uneasiness. So you have like faults and stuff, and you have what are they called? Earthquakes. We don't have them very often here in the Midwest. So.
Yeah, we don't.
But yeah, you have frequent earthquakes and faults. So I mean that kind of plays into the region changing so much, if you will. So it's kind of clever how they did that. But again, back to this Sparklite. So obviously it's called Sparklite. It's used as a currency, and it's also used to kind of combine types of weapons to give you more powerful abilities during the game.
Gotcha. So when you say new abilities and weapons, is that where the Zelda aspect comes in? Like you get different weapons that allow you to reach certain new areas or defeat certain bosses?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So you have that where you have like different, I think they're called gadgets, and you can put them in this patch, and you can only have a certain amount of augments or mods to this patch that allow you to increase your health or increase the base damage of your weapon, which is this giant wrench, which is pretty cool. You also have this hammer ability too for smashing through small rocks. But yeah, this patch is used to augment your base abilities in the game, and you use that with Sparklite.
Okay. So does this follow the traditional roguelike formula where you're running through these furnaces randomly generated, and then you inevitably die and then you start over again?
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
You come back stronger than you did before. Is that what we're looking at?
You do. So every run that you make, you get a certain amount of Sparklite. And like I said, being that it's your currency, you can use that to redeem towards, say you want more health. So you'd buy essentially heart containers. I forget what the actual terminology they use in the game, but you're buying heart containers. And if you combine two of those, the bronze ones, you get a silver one. You combine two silver ones, you get a gold one.
Okay.
So instead of getting individual containers like a quarter of a heart, you essentially need 4 pieces to make one full heart.
Gotcha. Okay, so each run never feels wasted then, because you're always going to wind up with some kind of Sparklite.
No, and even then, sometimes when I was doing a run through, I almost wanted to die in certain areas because I wanted to pay for a power-up or to level up a certain section of this hub. So you have a couple different vendors. One guy, he kind of sells you the mods. One guy lets you build or recreate these gadgets that you find throughout the world. One is weird. It's kind of like, I forget what they're called, the Koroks from Breath of the Wild.
Okay.
Where they're just like little tiny creatures, but you're trying to create this orchestra. Being that I'm at the last boss and haven't finished it, I don't know what this orchestra does quite yet.
It wakes the windfish.
That would be a pretty bad news if you're going against Nintendo with their recent actions against likenesses.
Everybody.
Yeah. So yeah, every time you go through, you get these different abilities or different Sparklite that you can use towards abilities that you can pay for at this hub. So never do you feel like a run is wasted. Even if you die, you can go back. There are different augments that tell you like where the furnace locations are or where the main dungeon, if you will, location is. So you can get a quick run through here.
So talk to me about the actual gameplay then when you're inside these furnaces. Is it more combat heavy or is it more puzzle oriented?
There is very little to do as far as puzzle,
Okay.
and the combat is fairly easy.
So not a whole lot of difficulty going here. Is it a pretty easy game to beat?
No, it is a very easy game to beat. It is I would say an entry title for someone that has never played a roguelike,
Oh, okay.
but lacking. Where in other games you have enemies that if you're normally playing games, if you're familiar with how to play games and you get an enemy or a group of enemies in an area, you know not to run up on them and touch them because they're probably going to take some of your health away.
Right.
That's not the case in Sparklite. I found that I could easily run into enemies without them damaging me if they're not charging me. So it was really strange to not take any damage just by touching enemies. So it made me not want to interact with them. When I had a goal in mind, I could easily just run past them.
Yeah, but don't you gain Sparklite for defeating enemies?
You do. But the thing is, if you're just trying to go through and play and beat it, this would be a really quick game to get through. If your whole goal is to gain as much Sparklite, you're going to hack and slash everything. So you can run through it and beat it if you really just want to beat it real quick and get it out of the way.
Mm-hmm.
Or if you want to sit down and take the time to gain all that Sparklite, which what good are the augments if the game's not challenging enough, right?
Right. It doesn't make any sense to level yourself up if you're just kind of cakewalking through the game.
Correct.
Which is, that's kind of the draw for a roguelike for me is those first few times you play, you just feel completely overwhelmed, but it slowly gets better and better and better and better.
Yeah.
And then eventually it becomes easy, but then you enter a new area and you start that whole process over and over and over again. But if it's just easy the whole way, that kind of takes away the whole roguelike aspect of it that makes it appealing to me.
If it was longer, I think it would have been a bit better. It's not a bad game per se. I really actually had quite a bit of fun and I'm going back and I'm going to finish the achievements with it. But I don't think it's something that is necessarily challenging for a hardcore gamer. If you're used to playing roguelikes and Zelda games, this is going to be a cakewalk. It still had a cool aesthetic. It still had a fairly engaging story. The boss design, even though there's only 5 technically, was actually pretty cool. So it's all in all, it's a very cool game, but it kind of lacks more. Like I want more.
Okay.
And it wasn't hard.
That's a fair assessment. There's nothing wrong with easy games once in a while, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so again, that is Sparklite, and that one comes, again, from Evolve PR and Red Blue Games. Thanks for giving us the opportunity to review that one, and Nate, thanks for doing that.
Mm-hmm.
The next game that we're going to talk about that you played is New Super Lucky's Tale, which, if I'm not mistaken, this is not a new game, but a port of a game that came to Xbox and PC, like a year or so ago, correct?
That's correct. So after doing a little bit more research, I was not aware that this originally came out on PC or Xbox. I went into this playing it as a brand new game since I didn't have any previous experience.
Oh, that's cool.
So it was a pretty cool experience, but also something that gave me something more to play on Switch.
Very cool. Now, it looks I've played this on Xbox One, so to be perfectly direct with you, I have played it. But do you agree with me that this feels like a very N64 platformer style game?
Oh, yeah. It definitely takes little bits and pieces from like Banjo-Kazooie, Super Mario 64, and then they throw it together, add their own story to it. There's a couple different abilities that we'll get into, but it is very much a 3D platformer of like the 64 era.
It's just so charming too. Everything's bright and vibrant. Like a Mario 64. Like it's what I remember looking at Mario 64 when I was a kid and going, "This is just amazing." And that's even though that game looks very dated by today's standards, but this just looks very polished and Lucky's a new character, but I find him very charming, endearing.
This is very likable, and it's a very easy character for even younger players to get into. You don't have to have like something super involved to get into it. He actually kind of reminds me of Conker a lot in like
a cleaner
character design. Yeah. But it was really cool. It was a very fun platformer to play. They took a general 3D type gameplay throughout the majority of the game, but you did have certain areas where it did adopt almost like a 2D runner or a side scroller in some areas.
Like oh man, what's the Sony one that I can't think of? The Sony flagship title that was, the competitor to Mario and Sonic. I'm drawing a blank right now.
Crash Bandicoot?
Crash Bandicoot, thank you. Where you're like running towards the camera, dodging boulders or something like that. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So talk to me about these abilities, because you said you get to earn things as you go through to make it fun.
You do. So the premise of the game, you have this evil sorcerer that his name's Jinx. I think his name's Jinx.
You owe me a Coke.
Yeah. So you play a fox, and this Jinx, the sorcerer, has come to your homeworld to steal this. I think it's called the Book of Ages. It's been a couple days since I played it, and I jumped back into Sparklite, so my memory is fading fast. But the premise of the game is you have to collect these pages and keep them away from the sorcerer. Is the ultimate premise of the game. The cool ability out of new Super Lucky's Tale was his ability to dig and to burrow, which is really cool. Like in other games of this area, you usually have some sort of jump ability, which he does. He has a double jump. He has a tail spin, kind of like you'd spin with Crash Bandicoot, but this burrowing ability allowed you to bypass certain areas in the game where it was just pretty cool how they implemented it.
Now you're talking about going underground and burrowing through a tunnel, kind of like
that is correct.
The gopher in Caddyshack. That could and you see the little mound of dirt come up and allows you under certain areas. Which it's a fun way to do a 3D platformer, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it kind of changed it up. I mean, there are certain areas that are obviously either wooden platforms or concrete or stone type platforms that you obviously can't burrow through.
Mm-hmm.
So it kind of gives you an idea hey, I can burrow here. And not necessarily hard, but there's quite a bit to do in here. So you essentially collect these clovers. You try to collect the letters of your name, and there are I think there's four different hubs in the game, and then you have different levels within these hubs to collect. So I mean, you have multiple things to do in each hub in each level. So if you're a completionist,
Mario fashion,
if you're a completionist, you'll probably want to go through and collect everything.
Sounds good. Now I know this was originally a Microsoft exclusive, and now it's on Nintendo. How does it translate to the Switch? Did you play it in handheld? Did you play it on the screen? And how does it play? How does it play there?
I play everything in handheld. That's just how I play the majority of my Switch titles. As far as translation, it played fairly smooth. The graphics looked fantastic. However, I don't know if it was my video settings or something that I didn't set up. I didn't mess around with it. But it seemed almost flat. Yeah, it didn't have a vibrance or the polish like you'd expect from a Mario title or something along the lines of that. So even though it has very familiar gameplay aspects, I don't think it necessarily has the same amount of polish that you'd expect from a AAA title like that on a Nintendo console.
Well, and I mean, to be fair, I played Super Mario Odyssey back and forth between my handheld and my TV, and the difference is staggering. How much better it looks on a television, especially, the modern TVs. It might be, I'm hoping that's just an aspect of it being on the handheld.
And don't get me wrong, it didn't look bad.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't play it in TV mode. I only played it in handheld.
Okay.
So I think for the written review, I will pop it in, see what it looks like in TV mode, so that people have a better idea of what it looks graphically between the two.
All right, and those written reviews for this and Sparklite will be available on our website, The Gaming Outsider, here in the next week or so. Is this a game you recommend for people to check out?
Yeah, absolutely. Both games were fantastic. Sparklite was an easy entry for someone that hasn't played a roguelike type title in the past. If you're looking for something just easy to go through, doesn't take up too much time. I think both games were about 6 to 8 hours apiece. They don't take a whole lot of time. They were both great.
Awesome, man. Thanks so much for checking those out, and thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me, Scott. We'll see you.
All right, we'll catch you later. All right, I'm here with Spencer once again. How you doing, man?
Hey, not too bad. How are yourself?
I'm doing all right, man. You were here to talk to us about a game you've been playing for us called Woven. This one comes from Alter Ego Games and was provided to us by PR Hound. Thanks to those guys for hooking you up with this one. Talk to me about this game because you spoke very highly of it in your written review, which, by the way, can be read at thegamingoutsider.com. Why did you like this game so much?
It was a pretty good game. To start, you play as Stuffy, a little lovable character.
He's an elephant, right?
Yeah, you start off as an elephant, and actually you can become other animals because he's a stuffed animal. And you find a metal firefly who becomes your partner in crime, so to say. And you travel around, and it's just interesting how this place has been highly detailed. It kind of looks like Yoshi's. What's that? Yoshi's
Epic Yarn.
Thank you.
Yeah. So it looks it's got that Nintendo flavor to it a little bit. Very vibrant characters, almost like you can almost reach out and touch the fabric. It looked like from the trailer.
Pretty much, yeah.
Very realistic.
Yeah.
And we just got done recording with Nate, and he told us about Super Lucky's Tale, which we compared that to like the N64 era, like platformers like that. Is that what this game is? Is it a platformer like that from that era?
Similar, yes. I would say so.
So what are you doing in this game? Are you collecting items? Are you beating bosses? How does the gameplay work?
No bosses in this game. You actually start off figuring out why the moon is suspended in the sky on its own in this world of yarn, or as we call Woven.
Okay.
And why metal animals, metal bugs, insects, you name it, are all here in this world. And that's your mission, to find that.
All right. And how do you find that?
It's pretty much go up to the mountain and go to the moon.
So it's just a walking simulator, basically, or is there combat going on in this game? What are you doing?
No combat in this game. It is like a walking simulator. Yes. The only way to get around certain places is if you find blueprints from these, what I mark as a blueprint machine, is the best way I can describe it. And you can become a cat, a lion, a dragon, and that's what gets you into different areas of this world.
Gotcha. So you turn into these different animals, and then you're able to access new areas, yes?
Yeah, that's correct.
Now, I was actually in the car with you while you were playing this on Switch, and you mentioned that even though the game has this very cutesy aesthetic to it, that the language in it still feels somewhat adult. And when I say adult, I don't mean like cursing and stuff like that, but it's just not... It's not cutesy. Can you expand on that a little bit?
Yeah, so Alter Ego games, they're people who they're going for. They're 7-year-olds and 7+, and I don't believe that is the case with this game. And I don't think a 7-year-old is really going to understand any of the words. They're words that I probably don't even know.
Okay,
that are kind of out of my vocabulary. And I actually had to look up a few words in the dictionary. I'm not saying I'm dumb. It was funny having to kind of figure that out.
Okay. So do you recommend this game? Because you scored it pretty highly in your written review.
Yeah, I do recommend this game. It is good. I would say it's also good for kids, as not maybe 10+ that would kind of understand a little bit more of it.
Sure.
It's just a lot of narrating that they might get bored from. That's the only issue I see with that.
All right. So again, that is Woven from Alter Ego Games. Spencer, thanks so much for checking that one out for us. We do appreciate it.
Thank you, Scott.
We'll catch you later. All right, guys. Thanks so much. Anything else you guys have been playing before we get out of here?
Yeah, I played some more Death Stranding, working my way through that. That game's weird.
I would imagine
still
so.
Just walking around, slinging packages.
Well, there's not a whole lot else to do, CB. That's what you do. The episodes start moving along faster, which is nice.
Okay.
Episode 3 seems like it's about 40% of the game.
Ugh.
Like 34, like it's pretty massive compared to.
So this is a game that's basically saying if you want to enjoy this game, you're going to have to earn it first.
Yeah, where are you going to ask, CB?
I was going to say, was it more episode 2 that was the super stupid long.
I think 2 and 3 are. 2, I didn't do any side stuff. Well, I haven't done any side stuff in this game.
Okay, 2 and 3, I will definitely agree with you, feel like the brunt of this game.
Yeah, it feels weirdly structured. Like it isn't. The rest are moving at a much faster clip. Mads Mikkelsen's making an appearance. That's cool. The narrative threads are tying together. I like that story quite a bit in that game. And I don't mind the walking. It's just you have to have the right mentality when you're playing it.
Apparently. Got to listen
and
to a podcast.
And you cannot, just so you know, play Jedi and they go, well, I'm just going to play a couple hours of Death Stranding. Because in Death Stranding, your character moves like a friggin' tank. And in Jedi, it moves like
a Jedi.
Respawn made it. So it moves impeccably. And then you go to Death Stranding, you're like, oh, he's leaning to the left. I'm like, man, yeah, you can't interchange those, let me tell you.
No.
That sounds like a miserable experience.
But hey, it is a great podcast game or, watching TV game, Death Stranding.
All right. Well, I'm eager to hear you finish that game and tell us what and read your review.
I cannot wait to see how this game concludes is going to be.
I kind of wish that you had recorded it so I could watch just the story beats and because I just have no desire to do the package handling. But I was intrigued by the setting and the story and the characters.
The TV show of it all.
Yeah, just make it a TV show and let me watch it. Somebody has to have spliced that together by now, right?
They have.
Have they?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I just need to go sit down and watch it.
There are whole YouTube channels that just do that for games.
Yeah, that's all I want to do. Because I really want to see what happens. I just don't want to play it. But anyway, that's going to do it for this episode of the Gaming Outsider. Zach, any parting words or recommendations for everybody?
Watch The Mandalorian.
That was going to be mine too. So
yeah,
that was mine 3.
All right.
Hat trick on The Mandalorian.
Yeah, for sure. But also, while you're at it, if you would like to check out my other podcast, the Packers Fan Podcast, you can listen to the same place you listen to this very one. CB, you had more to say?
I was going to say, if you guys don't remember this, but I would also, for those who have Disney Plus, recommend going back and watching The Rocketeer and Newsies.
All right. I've never seen either of those. I need to watch those. But I watched The Great Mouse Detective. Yes. I watched the DuckTales movie. I watched Rookie of the Year. I watched Shipwrecked. Man, I've just been going through watching all these old movies that I watched as a kid, and I'm just in heaven.
I mean, that's what that streaming service is, $7 a month for nostalgia.
It really is, and yeah, I'm completely okay with that.
My next up is I'm actually going to watch through Darkwing Duck.
Yeah.
Again. Yes. But I also remembered that The Rescuers Down Under is on there.
That's so good. I love that one.
The 90s Spider-Man TV show, I feel like I talked about how it does not hold up before on this. It kind of does.
Yeah?
Once you get a couple episodes in and you're like, oh yes, wait, no, yes, it's just heavily censored, but otherwise it's pretty good.
Okay.
Oh, and the entire animated X-Men's on there too.
Yeah, that's nuts. There's so much content on that thing for $7 a month.
Boy Meets World is on Disney Plus. I just found out.
Yes. There's so much content that is not readily available. Like there were no legally printed DVDs of Marvel Spider-Man show.
Yeah. And it's all on nice and one. They had 10 million subscribers in its first day.
Yeah, that's not that. I'm surprised it was so low.
Seriously?
No, that's a mind-boggling number.
Because I went to work on release day and I was talking to my coworkers like, hey, do you guys get Disney Plus? No, what's Disney Plus?
What?
Yeah.
Wow, okay.
So, I mean, granted,
yeah.
Well, I mean, when you think about it, there's 350 million people in the U.S. 10 million seems like a low number.
I mean, that is impressive for one day.
For one day, though, man.
Yeah. And they're so smart about it because it's $7 a month. It's really like why not?
Yeah, or if you're a Verizon customer with unlimited data, you get a year of it for free.
Sure, which seems to be most people I know all of a sudden.
Yeah, it's great. Anyway, thank you so much for listening to the Gaming Outsider.
Yeah, thanks for listening to our advertisement for the biggest company in the world.
Seriously. And sorry for the long episode, but we had a lot to talk about with that topic and Star Wars.
You say that every week.
Be sure to email us if you have any questions or concerns. Our address is feedback@thegamingoutsider.com. Until next week, I'm Scott Clark with Zach Parkerson and Chris Behrensmeyer, and we are the Gaming Outsider. And remember, there's no such thing as a bad game, just games that aren't for you.